Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Marvel. Reborn is a magic book, and you will get it back 10,000 times returns. Chapter 1. Marvel World. Kamar Taj. In the silent night, Kamar Taj looked very peaceful. The library located deep in Kamar Taj is even more quiet. Wow. At this moment, there was a sudden sound of pages turning in the deserted library. Following the source of the sound, I was surprised to find that it was an ordinary yellowed ancient book placed on the table. But at this moment, this ancient book became different. Within it was born a consciousness. What's going on? Am I dead? How come I'm here? Lin Yu felt her surroundings turn white, and messy memories constantly emerged from her mind. Every bit of his previous life, even the memory of his death, is still vivid in his mind. But now he clearly has consciousness and is clearly alive. The only thing that was surprising was that his body and senses seemed to have undergone strange changes. He couldn't feel his hands and feet, he could only turn something similar to the pages of a book, and his senses became strange. It's not like seeing things with eyes, but more like mental power, or X-rays. As long as he thinks about the surrounding environment, it clearly enters his mind. The only thing Lin Yu can be sure of is that his perception range is limited. His mental power spread out and he could see the surrounding environment clearly. Lin Yu was shocked. I turned into a book. And it's a magic book. Lin Yu was a little panicked at first, but quickly calmed down. Being able to live another life, let alone become a book, even if it is to become. Lin Yu put an end to his strange thoughts. It seems a bit dangerous to become a book. Lin Yu couldn't help but think in his heart. Ding. System is being activated. System activation completed. The system is binding to the host. System binding successful. A blue dialog box suddenly appeared in his mind, and a mechanical voice sounded in his mind. Lin Yu became extremely excited. Goldfinger. I didn't expect that time travel would be just one book, and there would be Goldfinger. This is something he never dared to think about in his previous life. System, what is your role? Lin Yu couldn't help but ask the system in his heart. The host's magic book allows people to understand the power of mutant magic. As long as someone reads your magic book and understands ability, you will receive 10,000 times the power in return. The mechanical voice sounded in Lin Yu's mind. Hearing this, Lin Yu felt excited. After the mental exploration just now, he also had an understanding of the surrounding environment. The environment here made him feel extremely familiar. I knew he saw a few book titles on the bookshelf next to him. Key of Solomon, Book of Vision, Supreme Code, New Edition of the Universe. These books are so weird that they are not serious books at first glance. Lin Yu immediately found the answer from his extremely clear memory. This was a book that appeared in the movie Doctor Strange that he had watched. Combined with the surrounding environment, Lin Yu can now confirm that he is not only reborn, but also reborn in the Marvel world. The location he is in now should be the Kamar Taj library that Wong was guarding in the movie. It contains all of Kamar Taj's magical tomes and contains endless knowledge. If he traveled through time and became a person, Lin Yu would be very excited now. Now he is just a book, but there is nothing worth getting excited about. On the contrary, when he noticed this, he was very anxious. It's a dangerous world. Let alone a book, a person may turn into ashes for no apparent reason at any time. Kamar Taj has been breached several times. If he had been an ordinary book, he might have been burned at some point. Lin Yu doesn't want to die inexplicably again. What appeared in the system was a savior. After thinking about it, Lin Yu once again asked the question he was most concerned about now. System, after I gain ability, can I become a human? If we were in the world of cultivation, this problem would not be a problem. But in the Marvel world, he had never heard of any books that could help adults. If it had always been a book, there would be no difference between living and dead. Others can understand ability from your magic book, and each person who understands it will accumulate points. Accumulate a certain number of points and you can have a human body. The cold mechanical sound of the system sounded. Lin Yu felt that this voice was the most beautiful voice in the world. Can become human. Now Lin Yu is relieved and can enjoy a good life in the future. And because the main body is a book, you don't have to worry about Thanos snapping his fingers, which is perfect. Lin Yu's mood cheered up and he asked again in his heart. System, What kind of abilities will you understand after seeing my magic book? Others can understand the ability of all realms by reading the magic book. The ability comprehended is related to the magician originally, and the ability comprehended by different people is different. These abilities have an impression in your memory, such as ninjutsu, taijutsu, domineering, etc. may appear. These abilities are very powerful and can exert great power in this world without any influence. The system explained patiently. Lin Yu was very excited after listening to everything. The system is awesome. If you realize the ability of all realms, it will be terrible. There are many perverted abilities in the world. The important thing is that by letting others read it and letting others understand the magic, he can also gain extremely powerful power. He doesn't need to do anything at all, he just needs to let people read. Thinking of this, Lin Yu suddenly felt calm. Before, it was a little bit risky to be a book, but now there is a system. Lin Yu just wants to wait quietly for enough points to become a human. Take a rest first. When tomorrow starts, let people read the magic book. All it takes is an ordinary person reading it. It should be very easy. Sha Yibai thought in his heart. This is the Kamar Taj Library, where all magicians share their knowledge. It shouldn't be difficult to find someone to read a magic book. The night passed quietly. The next day it was bright. Lin Yu woke up and used his spiritual power to find out. It can be vaguely sensed that in the distance, people have begun to come and go in the library. But the surroundings were still very quiet, and everyone was talking softly. Lin Yu looked forward to it. What he wants to see is that lucky person who can discover him first. He deliberately manipulated the magic book to flip, making a clattering sound as if being blown by the wind. After a while, a young man with blonde hair walked towards this side. Picked up Lin Yu's magic book. Lin Yu became very happy. Luke is a Kamar Taj quintessential magician. In fact, he's not technically a magician yet. He is a newcomer who entered Kamar Taj with a dream. He wants to be a magician who protects ordinary people. A superhero. This kind of dream is not uncommon in this world. Everyone is looking forward to being a superhero. The only problem is that his ability is not very good, especially in magic. His ability is not that outstanding. Although he practiced extremely hard, the results were still very unsatisfactory. He has no confidence at all about tomorrow's assessment. If he fails the test, he will leave Kamar Taj. This is not uncommon in Kamar Taj either. Not everyone can become a magician and protect the world. Many people come here for medical treatment and then leave. Some people are unwilling to donate and will leave in the middle. This is the meaning of the magician apprenticeship assessment. Avoid irresponsible or evil beings from entering Kamar Taj. Definitely Luke, who lacks ability, is also a kind of person. This is also for his consideration. If his ability is insufficient, his strength will naturally be insufficient, and he will be more likely to be in danger when participating in the Kamar Taj mission. There's no way Sorcerer Supreme would let that happen. If the current progress is followed, Luke will inevitably become the one who is cleared out of Kamar Taj. We must not let this happen. Luke is very determined. He must become a superhero and never give up. Full of expectations, Luke came to the library. According to Luke's understanding, many magicians have found the knowledge they want here and improved their power in a short period of time. Luke can only hope for this. In the library, Luke searched among different bookshelves. He had already read most of the basic books, and they had no effect on him. Fortunately, Kamar Taj doesn't have much else and has enough knowledge. And it's all free. Even an ordinary magician apprentice like him can read more books than an ordinary person can read in a lifetime. Crash. Just as Luke was searching, there was a sound of pages turning. Luke looked in the direction of the source of the sound. I found a yellowed ancient book on a table. This ancient book looked very strange. Just after taking a glance at it, Luke instinctively felt that this book was different from other books. Luke walked over and picked up the book. He closed it and looked at it, only to find that the book had no name and only gorgeous and complicated patterns on the cover. Luke was dazzled by what he saw. He felt a little dry and his heart was beating rapidly. Taking a deep breath, Luke sat down and opened the book in front of him. The moment I opened the book, a burst of light that ordinary people couldn't see lit up. Luke felt his heart and mind being drawn in, and his soul entered directly into the book. In fact, it is in this book. Lin Yu was quietly watching all this. Watching his magic book erupt with mysterious power, the soul of the blonde magician in front of him seemed to be attracted into it. A magician has been detected who is qualified for comprehension. Should this magician realize power? The system prompt sounds. Yes, Lin Yu said decisively in his heart. The host confirms that the magician is qualified to comprehend. Power understanding in progress. It's really magical. I don't know what magical power this lucky guy will understand. It's better to realize a little bit of great power. Lin Yu is full of expectations. What magical power can his gold finger unleash? Lin Yu just stared at the magician. He could feel that there was a mysterious power linking the magician in the magic book. But in the library, the various magicians coming and going were not aware of all this. It's as if these mysteries don't exist. However, Lin Yu could clearly perceive that a mysterious force had entered the body of the magician in front of him, constantly changing his body. This kind of power carries the breadth of the ocean and overbearing power. Even the magician's soul changed on the tiniest level. The power of the magic book is truly unfathomable. It's surprising that it can change a person's essence and instill strength so easily. And even the Ancient One didn't notice anything. Lin Yu was shocked. Kamar Taj is the territory of the Ancient One, and the Sorcerer Supreme, who controls the Time Gem, is enough to control the entire Kamar Taj situation. However, in this library, such a change occurred, and Ancient One did not even notice it. The power of the system is truly incredible. He has a promising future. Amidst Lin Yu's excitement and expectation, time passed little by little, and the power of the magic book also transformed the magician and took it back into the magic book. Complete understanding of power. The magician's comprehension power is One Piece World, Navy 6 Styles. A magician learns the power from the magic book. You get a 10,000 times critical hit return. Congratulations on obtaining the 6th form of the secret class Navy. Congratulations on obtaining the domineering color of knowledge, the domineering color of armed force, and the domineering color of overlord. Do you want to receive it? The system's prompt tone is like the sound of nature at this moment. Lin Yu was overjoyed. It's great that he is the power among the pirate kings. The 6th form of the Navy at the secret level, isn't that the strongest? There are also 3 colors of domineering. The system is really awesome. Receive. Lin Yu said something in his heart. A massive amount of information entered his mind, and with it came immense power. The world of One Piece is an extremely scary world. Whether it is the Yonko or the Admiral of the Navy, they all have the power to destroy a city by one person. Although the most powerful power in this world is the power of Devil Fruit. But if the terrifying power of Haki is practiced to the extreme, it will not be weaker than the Devil Fruit at all. For example, Garp in the Navy has the strength of a general just by relying on his armed domineering skills that he has cultivated to the extreme. In order to practice boxing, they even leveled mountains and cut off rivers. What a terrifying power! Now, although Lin Yu has not directly achieved general level strength, but having acquired the 6th form of the Navy plus the 3 colors of Haki is already extremely powerful. Lin Yu was very happy about this. However, the one who was even more happy was not him, but the lucky guy named Luke. 6 forms. Power beyond human limits. This must be a remnant of the legendary magician from ancient times. Luke, given such an opportunity, will definitely be able to become an official magician. Luke's face was red and he was so excited that he couldn't control himself. Having mastered the 6 moves, he passed the magician test without any problem. Kamar Taj, who is nicknamed the melee magician by outsiders, does not reject melee combat. He will also have a place in Kamar Taj. The official name of Navy 6th form is actually 6th form. It is a trick summarized by One Piece World Navy to enhance the strength of the Navy. Said it was 6 styles. But in fact there are dozens of tricks derived from these 6 moves. Moreover, everyone can combine their own strength to improve and study the 6 postures. He has mastered them all. In addition, he also mastered moves that can only be mastered from the 6th form to the strongest stage. 2 secrets, 6 King's Spear. This is the gold content of the 6th form of the Profound Navy. He has mastered everything related to the 6 styles and has reached a state of perfection. If he had a human body now, he would immediately become a strong man. Not like this lucky guy Luke. The 6 postures he mastered were only at the elementary level. You still need to work hard and practice slowly to improve your strength. If you practice to the extreme, you might be able to realize domineering energy. Lin Yu has already mastered these automatically. If we talk about the 6th marine style, it is a powerful style based on the physical body. A strong physical body is required to exert power. Dominance is a kind of power emanating from the soul. Even armament hockey, the power that enhances physical attack and defense. Its essence is also the domineering force derived from the soul. Even now it's a book. Lin Yu has also been able to use the power of domineering. Lin Yu was very excited. Everyone will be very excited to suddenly master this powerful power that only exists in legends. Not to mention, this power is so powerful. Even the top 3 color hegemony he mastered, the kind comparable to that of a naval admiral, was already powerful enough. There is a world of difference from ordinary people. If his domineering energy spreads out, I'm afraid even the magician of Kamar Taj can't resist this power. Now I am finally more than just an ordinary book. Finally I have some power to protect myself. Manipulating hockey is enough to unleash some of the power of the 6 styles. No ordinary book at all. I'm afraid an ordinary magician can't do anything to me. Lin Yu is very satisfied with the current situation. It's a pity that he has no body now. If he had a body now, with the 6 styles in hockey, it would still be easy to defeat super soldiers like Captain America and Winter Soldier. I'm afraid even Iron Man Tony Stark can't resist the power of hockey. After all, Overlord Color is not an attack that ordinary armor can withstand. Among the Avengers, Thor and Hulk are probably the only 2 guys who can rival him in terms of combat effectiveness. Among Kamar Taj, only a magician like Wong who has experienced many battles can fight him. The same is true even if he does not have a human body and cannot use the 6th marine style. After all, the Overlord looks domineering and is simply unreasonable. As long as you don't have the strength to resist this kind of domineering power, you will have no power to fight back in front of Lin Yu. From a book without any resistance ability to the power it has now. It only takes a few minutes. And this is just the beginning. The power that an ordinary magician comprehends already gives him such power to protect himself. What if more magicians understood the power? What if it was a more powerful existence that also came here to understand power? Thinking of this, Lin Yu even had the idea of lying down. He doesn't even need to practice hockey. As long as someone once again understands the most basic domineering power from him, I'm afraid he will be able to obtain the full level of domineering. Gain a powerful combat power comparable to the level of the 4 emperors of the One Piece world. Why is there any need to work hard on self-cultivation? Lin Yu suddenly became excited. Compared to Lin Yu, Luke, who had just gained the magical ability, was much more excited, and he also had more expectations for the future. Looking at the incomparably magical ancient book in front of him, which was like recreating an ancient book to him, Luke's emotions were extremely complicated. There is curiosity, excitement, and hesitation. He had never thought before that a book could be so incredible. Is this a gift from the legendary gods? The legendary magician doesn't have such power. It actually allowed me to master such powerful fighting moves. Even the strength has increased. Luke's enthusiasm slowly calmed down. The more he thought about it, the more incredible the magic book in front of him seemed. Even in myths and legends, such magical things exist. I was just dreaming about Kamar Taj, there is such a thing, right? Luke even felt greed in his heart and wanted to take possession of this magical magic book for himself. Just reading it once was so powerful. What if I read it more times? No, Luke, how can you be so greedy? You are going to be a superhero. This is not what a hero would do. And with this kind of power, as long as I work hard, I will eventually achieve something. Luke quickly suppressed the evil thoughts in his heart. My heart became more and more determined. Nice boy. With this kind of character, your achievements in the future will be unimaginable. Voices of admiration rang out. Who is it? Who is here? Luke was shocked when he heard this voice. I'm right in front of you. Why all the fuss? Lin Yu spoke again. Only then did Luke focus on the book in front of him. Is it you who's talking? Luke looked at the magic book in front of him, his face full of disbelief. In Kamar Taj, Books talk, isn't it weird? Lin Yu said calmly. Seeing and hearing hockey is a very powerful force. You can predict attacks and feel the enemy's position even when it's not urgent. You can also feel the enemy's emotions, even to the extreme, and be able to predict the future. Although Lin Yu is not at this level, it is not difficult for him to see the emotions of a little magician. Feeling the boy's surprise, he was speechless for a while. Kamar Taj has magic, so what's weird about books talking? Dr. Strange's cloak can also save his own life and help Strange wipe his mouth. Thor's hammer Mjolnir is even jealous. Iron Man's armor is still alive and he wants to eliminate mankind and destroy the world. It is too common in this world for a book to speak. But Luke hadn't seen much of the world. He is just a little magician now, and he finally stabilized his emotions. Did you give me my power? What's your purpose? Are you here for my soul? In Kamar Taj, every magician is educated in detecting the devil's deceptions. Boy, don't think too much. Your soul is ordinary. I don't like it. You just have to show your strength. Lin Yu said happily. Only this little magician showed himself different. Only then will more magicians come to your door. Lin Yu is looking forward to this very much. Kamar Taj, in the library. Luke looked at the talking book and felt a little panicked. Even in Kamar Taj, he would panic when something like this happened. But he didn't have time to panic for long. The book in front of me suddenly disappeared. Luke couldn't help but wipe his eyes, as if in disbelief. What's the situation? What about a big book? Have I seen a ghost or hallucinated? Luke's eyes widened. The magical magic book disappeared. Luke was a little confused. He was sure that this was not a demon. Not to mention that demons will only be killed by Sorcerer Supreme in Kamar Taj. There is no demon who would be so mysterious but pursue nothing. But what he didn't know was, Lin Yu was watching him right next to him, not leaving at all. The use of domineering energy is consistent with one intention. Overlord color and knowledge color are both domineering with incredible power. The little magician in front of him was too weak, and Lin Yu easily interfered with his vision. Now Lin Yu is still in front of him, but the little magician can't see him at all. The domineering ability is truly terrifying. It's not even weaker than a devil fruit. Seeing the confused little magician, Lin Yu couldn't help but feel a little emotional. I just don't know how far this little magician named Luke can go in the end. Lin Yu watched Luke leaving, feeling quite emotional. He can keep an eye on this kid for the next 2 days. Seeing and hearing color is indeed a magical ability. And this power is different from the spiritual power in the Marvel world. Not just ordinary magicians, but even famous magicians like Wong were unaware of it. He had already observed several magicians using his sense of sight just now. But no one can find it. This life is really getting more and more interesting. A smile appeared in Lin Yu's heart. Time flies by in the blink of an eye. After being frightened in the library, I saw that nothing bad had happened. Luke felt relieved. He is ready and confident to take the magician exam. After putting on his robe, Luke changed from his usual hesitation and walked out of the room. The number of magicians in Kamar Taj is neither large nor small. There are only a few thousand people in Kamar Taj itself. A large number of other magicians are distributed in the outside world, or in the 3 major holy places. There are naturally not many people who can take part in this magician assessment at the same time. Including the magicians in charge of the exam, there are only a few dozen people. The leader is the magician, the king, who is now in charge of the magician's affairs. Wong, with a very serious face, stood in front of the training ground, very solemn. Luke actually felt a little nervous when he saw him. After waiting for a while, all the magicians taking part in the assessment were basically here. Now that everyone is here, let's get started. You all should understand that as long as you master the basic magic and pass the battle, you can continue to practice in Kamar Taj. Otherwise, for your own safety, you should go home. Staying in Kamar Taj is not a good thing for you. The king was very serious when he said this, without any mercy. Several magicians changed their expressions when they heard this. Luke is still confident and very conspicuous among many magicians. In the library, Lin Yu, who used his knowledge to pay attention to every move here, nodded secretly. This Luke has a pretty good character. I am not too proud or too nervous. It seems that I will achieve something in the future. I felt certain in my heart that the assessment over there has already begun. Basically, the apprentice competes with the magician, and the king decides whether he is qualified or not. With Wang's experience, he can easily judge a magician's combat effectiveness and decide whether he can continue to study in Kamar Taj. It can be said that the magician assessment tests combat effectiveness. If you have any special abilities and show combat prowess, you will be allowed to stay and learn. You only need to master the most basic magic. Soon, the other magician apprentices had already passed by, and it was Luke's turn directly. He walked up with confidence. First, Kamar Taj's most basic magic, the portal, was demonstrated to prove his magician status. It's not difficult. Everyone who enters Kamar Taj is selected, so learning a portal is not a problem. The real test is combat effectiveness. Luke stood on the training ground. Opposite him was a senior magician with rich combat experience, the only existence under the big magician. Okay, go all out. As long as you show enough strength, you can stay. Don't be nervous, just show your normal strength. The magician reminded gently. Thanks, magician. Magician, please be careful, I'm going to take action. Luke bowed and saluted, then reminded. The magician did not take it lightly, and a magic shield appeared in his hand. Luke looked at the magician opposite, his eyes sharpening instantly. Shave, Luke shouted. The whole person arched his body and shot out like a sharp sword. Trails of flying dust were left on the ground. In the blink of an eye, he crossed a distance of tens of meters and arrived in front of the magician. On the stands, Wang's eyes lit up. What a speed! Ordinary magician bodies don't have this kind of speed at all, and this young man is pretty good. But this is just the beginning. Point gun, Luke shouted again. His right hand thrust out in front of him at an alarming speed. He pointed directly at the magician's magic shield. His skin was bronze, and his hands were a little red. It didn't look like ordinary skin at all. Wang, who was in front, was a little surprised to see Luke's movements. Is this young man crazy? To put your finger on magic. Magical defense is so amazing, why would you choose to touch magic with your mortal body? Are you afraid of getting hurt? Wang Du wanted to stop Luke directly. Only, what happened next surprised Wang a little. Ding, there was a sound like the intersection of gold and iron. Luke's fingertips collided with magic, and there was a sound of gold and iron intersecting. Moreover, the power contained in it was so huge that the magician didn't even notice it and took a few steps back. The ordinary magicians around who saw this scene had shocked expressions on their faces. What kind of trick is this? Does Kamar Taj have magic to achieve this effect? The physical body actually collides with magic, and the fingertips have such power. Incredible, really incredible. The magicians around saw Luke fighting and kept whispering. It's true that Luke's performance is amazing. A fragile organ like a finger can actually exert such power. The terrifying speed was as fast as a bullet. If it were flesh, it would have been pierced long ago. That's just the beginning. The 6 styles are tricks summed up by countless Navy in the world of One Piece. It has gone through continuous adjustments and deductions by naval powerhouses in the past dynasties. Even some powerful beings in the Navy can practice these moves. It is enough to show the power of 6 styles. This is the essence summarized by a world powerhouse. Even in Kamar Taj, moves of this level are rare. And the 6 moves are not just a set of simple moves, they include a whole set of knowledge such as body tempering methods, power generation techniques, enemy fighting techniques, etc. It can be said that this is a unique system that is completely different from the Kamar Taj practice system. When Luke used it like this, he was naturally astonished by his skill. The king was amazed at the power of these moves. However, this is only a small part of the 6 styles. After all, Luke has been practicing for a long time. Even if he is transformed by the magic book, he will not be able to exert the ultimate power of the 6 moves. Naturally, it is impossible to easily kill a senior magician instantly. The tall black magician opposite Luke took 2 steps back and then reacted. Using one leg, he supported his body. He spoke in a gentle tone. Nice attack, but it's not enough to defeat me. After saying that, he made a move with his right hand. A golden magic chain emitting sparks appeared in his hand. The yellow sparks disappeared without a trace when they fell to the ground. This is the cosmic energy naturally born in our universe. Be careful, magical attacks cannot be underestimated. The magician reminded me. The magic chain was like a whip in his hand. But, compared to ordinary people, this magician is much more skillful in using magic chains. The dexterous magic chain was like a poisonous snake, spitting out snakes and attacking Luke at an unusually tricky angle. An ordinary magician would definitely not be able to react. You will be injured by this magic in an instant. But Luke is different. After he practiced the 6 postures, not only has the physical fitness been greatly enhanced, but the reflexes have also been greatly improved. Luke's eyes narrowed. Paper painting. In an instant, Luke's body seemed to have lost its original gravity and became like a fallen leaf. The magic chain set off an air current and crushed it. Luke danced along with this air current. Like a paper airplane, it suddenly flew up and retreated several meters, out of the attack range. This is impossible. The magician opposite was stunned. He witnessed Luke flying into the wind. But it was precisely because of this that he found it incredible. Can this be considered magic? Newton's coffin boards can't hold it down anymore. That's outrageous. The senior magician couldn't hide the shock in his eyes. Luke's actions simply did not comply with the laws of physics. How small is the air fluctuation caused by the magic chain? With the help of this airflow, it can actually float like fallen leaves. What a joke. The king in the stands also had a hint of surprise in his eyes. His vision was much higher than that of a senior magician, and he immediately saw the reality of this trick. Luke not only relied on the inspired airflow, but also the huge power of original and the inexplicable power around his body. Only in this way can the extremely weird action just now be unleashed. It makes people rise with the wind like fallen leaves. This requires extremely high control over one's own power to be able to do it, and it is impossible for ordinary people to have such control. Magician can't do it either. Wang was curious about how this little magician could do this. The king in the stands was amazed. In the library, Lin Yu also lamented this. The system is really perverted. A random little magician can actually have such strength after being strengthened by the system. It's just outrageous. Lin Yu smashed his mouth. The difficulty of 6 forms is actually not that low. Even if you master it, applying it in battle is not that simple. Ordinary people may feel nervous and panic when facing others throwing punches, let alone vicious magic. Luke made reasonable judgments at the most appropriate time. So calm. It's definitely not something that belongs in a pool. Is my vision really so good? Lin Yu couldn't help but feel a little pleased. On the battlefield, Luke and the magician were still fighting. After testing, Luke has understood that he is definitely not the magician. A senior magician has mastered at least a dozen magics, but this magician only used the 2 most basic magics. But he was already having such a hard time. The paper painting he just used seemed simple, but in fact it was very taxing on his body. He hasn't mastered his iron skills yet, and many of his skills are just barely there. But Luke didn't want to just give up. If he just wanted to pass the test at the beginning, now he wants to show his style. Even if you lose, it still has to be exciting. Luke's eyes were firm, he wiped the sweat from his forehead, and stared at the magician in front of him again. His heart was beating fast and his skin was a little red. That was him controlling the high-speed flow of his blood to increase his physical strength. Luke's eyes were as sharp as a tiger's, staring intently at the magician opposite. The senior magician was much more relaxed. He moved his arms and manipulated the magic chain to attack again. It's now. Insights brought by 6 styles. Luke has gained insight into the magician's trajectory. Luke took 3 steps and rose into the sky, as if he was trying to avoid the magician's attack through the air. Innocent. It's really hard to volley in front of a senior magician. Still too young. This thought flashed through the minds of many magicians and they couldn't help but shake their heads. The magician opposite Luke obviously thought so too. Shaking his head, the magic chain in his hand suddenly changed direction and was pulled towards the sky. If it were an ordinary person, he would not be able to use the force in the air and would definitely be hit. But Luke didn't feel nervous at all. Moonstep. He shouted loudly and suddenly stepped into the air with 1 foot. White air masses visible to the naked eye appeared in the air. Luke suddenly changed direction in midair. Escaped the magician's fatal blow. Lanjiao. Luke spun around completely. 1 leg brought up an extremely fierce and sharp air flow, attacking the magician in front of him. This magician had just made his move and was unable to raise his hand. In a hurry, he could only hold up his shield to resist. But this unprepared resistance was naturally unable to block this extremely sharp blow. Boom! Luke kicked the shield. The senior magicians around were unable to withstand this powerful and heavy attack, and were actually kicked out. Boom! The magician fell to the ground. Although he was unharmed, he looked very embarrassed and his face was full of shock. Luke's expressions of shock also appeared on some of the warehouse's faces. He actually did it. An apprentice magician actually defeated a senior magician. I didn't expect the magic in the library to be so powerful. The abilities given to him are too terrifying. Luke was shocked and excited at the same time. Wonderful. Wong was in the stands and applauded. The eyes are full of appreciation. Not only does the young man Zheng Ai have extraordinary skills, but his combat awareness is also top-notch. The latter is the decisive factor that determines whether a person can become a strong person. Sometimes, mastering powerful power does not mean you can become a strong person. This kind of calm consciousness in battle is the most important thing. But, after all, Wong is a great magician. He is very curious and calm. Instead of calling Luke immediately for questioning, he waved the other magicians to continue the assessment. But, with Luke's amazing performance, the performance of other magicians is just mediocre, and they cannot catch the eyes of many magicians at all. So the assessment ended quickly. There are indeed a few people who passed the examination together with Luke. But all the magicians' attention was attracted by Luke. Luke, right, come on, talk to me. When the king saw that everyone was paying so much attention, he waved his hands and everyone dispersed. When Luke saw the king summoning him, he didn't dare to say anything and followed him obediently. When he arrived in the room and no one else was around, the king spoke. Do you know that what you just did is enough to be recorded in the history of Kamar Taj? Big magician, what does that mean? Luke said doubtfully. Kamar Taj, over the years, apprentice magicians have been able to defeat senior magicians. Only a handful of people. The last one to do that was Caecilius. Wong said calmly. Luke was shocked, and the surprise on his face was clear. Caecilius is a disciple of the Ancient One, a great magician. He can actually compare with the great magician. Don't be too happy too early. He is an experienced magician who can defeat with magic. Your method shouldn't be considered magic in the strict sense, right? Wong asked sharply. Luke immediately panicked. The big magician is indeed a big magician, full of oppression. Luke felt that his breathing was a little short and he was very nervous. Yes, big magician. What I perform is the 6 styles, a move that purely uses the power of the physical body. Luke explained hurriedly. Did you create this yourself? Kamar Taj shouldn't have such a powerful move, right? It's not magic at all. Wong was actually a bit dumbfounded. Although the magicians of Kamar Taj are called melee magicians, they still rely on magic to fight. Melee combat is also a way to combine the power of magic. In terms of close combat, Kamar Taj has no such amazing tricks. This is what shocked the queen later. A small magician apprentice with such outstanding abilities. Able to create such incredible tricks. Its power has even begun to take the shape of its own path, and it is not weaker than magic at all. This is incredible. Hearing this, Luke waved his hands quickly. Magician, you overestimate me. I didn't create this. I found a magic book in the library. Learned it from above. Luke said honestly. This is impossible, Wong said decisively. Not to mention that he has read all the magic books in the library. But he has read 90% of them. He was even responsible for proofreading and retranslating many books. He was also responsible for revising many ancient and outdated contents. The amount of knowledge he possesses is a huge amount. If there was such incredible content in the library, he would definitely remember it. But, looking at the young man's appearance, it didn't look like he was telling lies. Although this young man has some ability in fighting, he is definitely an honest kid. He believed in his vision. Could it be the temptation of some evil being? Wang's face turned serious. Luke, let me ask you, are you sure you learned it in the library? You must never lie to me. But there are many evil beings who will use this trick to deceive the little magician. Seeing the king's serious expression, Luke also became nervous. Thinking of the strange situations he encountered before, he also felt a little nervous. Magician, everything I say is true. I did learn the 6 postures from a book. It's just that later on, the book disappeared mysteriously. Luke was very anxious as he spoke. Luke is a young man after all. Even if he has the potential to become a strong man, it is still just potential. It takes a lot of experience to become strong. Now that I suddenly encountered this kind of thing, I was naturally very anxious. Wang looked at Luke carefully and found that the boy did not look like he was lying. Come here, let me help you take a look. Wang waved. Luke walked up obediently. Wang grabbed Luke's arm and wielded the powerful magic power like an arm, instantly pouring into Luke's body and exploring his body. Wang glanced at Luke in surprise. This guy's physical fitness. It is much stronger than an ordinary senior magician, and does not have the physical strength that an ordinary magician apprentice should have at all. Both muscle strength and skin hardness are far beyond ordinary people. The blood flow rate is also amazingly fast, and it travels in a mysterious rhythm, independently absorbing the energy in the universe. Although this process is extremely slow, it can definitely slowly enhance a person's physical fitness. Wang is indeed a little confused about the specific operating system of this thing. But it is absolutely upright and has no evil intentions at all. Wang let go of Luke's arm. I couldn't help but feel a little suspicious. Is everything this guy said true? Did he really find the so-called mysterious magic book in the library? Obtained this powerful ability comparable to magic? This sounds a bit like a plot from a myth and legend. Wang, a well-informed magician, was a bit confused. Wang's attitude made Luke a little uneasy. Seeing the big magician, there was no expression on Gujing Wubo's face. Coupled with the fact that the king has a sinister face, he looks very fierce. Luke almost cried. Big magician, will nothing happen to me? Wang glanced at Luke and said, don't worry, it's okay. This is an upright road, and you can walk on it. It doesn't have to be magic to achieve something if you persevere. Luke's eyes lit up when he heard this, and his heart beat fast. All the magicians say so. It seems that the mysterious magic book is really amazing. Thank you, magician, I will work hard. Well, that's good. You're officially a magician, go celebrate. Wang encouraged him wholeheartedly. Luke nodded excitedly and left. Seeing Luke leave, Wang started to think. Should he go to the library to look for this so-called magical magic book? He didn't know. In the library, Lin Yu is looking at him. The face is full of smiles. This time, what a big fish. Wang found no answer in Luke. So they could only go to the library to find the so-called magical magic book by themselves. To be honest, Wang is still a little confused about this. He had been in Kamar Taj for decades, and he had never heard anything so outrageous. There is actually a magic book that can transmit this level of terrifying ability. It was really a bit beyond his understanding. Even the legendary so-called white magic book Weixin Emperor's book. It only imparts magician knowledge, not this unique ability. But Luke's facts were right in front of him. Wang also had to believe it. Arrive at the library with ease. Wang began to search in the library. Kamar Taj's library contains almost all of Kamar Taj's magical knowledge. There is even a lot of taboo knowledge here, but most magicians cannot understand the obscure content. Wang is a big magician who has been here many times. The library can be said to be like your own home. Very understanding. He even knew the locations of some books clearly. Browsed briefly. Everything was as usual, all the books were placed in their original positions. The king did not notice any changes or strangeness. Luke once said that this magic book can disappear on its own. Is it hidden? There was doubt in Wang's eyebrows. Then his mental power spread out and enveloped the entire library in an instant. The magicians of Kamar Taj are very powerful mentally. It is by relying on this powerful spiritual power that they are able to mobilize this ubiquitous cosmic power for their own use. The huge mental power spread out, and everything in the library entered his mind. The magicians walking around in the library have magic books that exude various mysterious powers. He now knows every detail in the library. But he still found nothing wrong with it. Not really. How is this possible? Is this book an ordinary book with no characteristics? Wang was a little confused. He didn't even notice it. According to Luke's description, that book is quite extraordinary. Neither the surface nor the fluctuations contained in it are extraordinary things. How could he not discover it? Isn't what this kid said true? I was deceived by him. Wang became suspicious again. Wow, just when Wang doubted himself, a strange sound of turning books appeared in his ears. The sound was very close, as if it came directly from his ears. Wang was shocked and turned around suddenly. But he suddenly discovered that at some point, an antique book with a mysterious cover appeared on the table in front of him. Hiss! Wang suddenly took a breath of cold air. He can be 100% sure that this magic book did not exist before. Whether it was with his eyes or with his mental power, he didn't notice this weird magic book. This weird thing actually happened. Even when he was in purgatory, fighting the so-called great demons of hell, he never felt so strange. But, after all, the big magician is a big magician, and he has his own confidence. I want to see what weird thing this magic book of yours is. Can you really do anything to me in Kamar Taj? Wang snorted coldly and stepped forward. In the presence of Kamar Taj and the Sorcerer Supreme, no one dares to act arrogantly here. Even those evil Mephistos are no exception. Could this book be scarier than those scary, weird big Mephistos? Wang Zhiji sat in front of the table and opened this rather mysterious book. Unexpectedly, there was nothing on the book, just blank. A trace of surprise flashed in Wang's eyes. Is this the so-called mysterious magic book? Just a blank magic book. When Wang was confused, Lin Yu was watching him. A magician is detected who is eligible for comprehension. Whether to let this magician realize the power. Lin Yu looked at the confused Wang and marveled. The existence that could later become the Sorcerer Supreme was beyond the comparison of a little magician like Luke. Still able to stay awake in front of the magic book. Sharp, don't let go of this high-quality leak. Confirm, let it realize the power. Lin Yu thought in his heart. The host confirms that the magician is qualified to comprehend. Power understanding in progress. The system prompts sounded. The mysterious invisible power suddenly spread out from the magic book. Wang's originally sober eyes suddenly became confused, as if he had just woken up after getting up. Wang is the same as Luke. He was controlled by the magic book without any resistance. A mysterious aura began to appear around the king. Lin Yu could feel that there was a chaotic and evil atmosphere constantly colliding with the light. It's just that the light is like the blazing sun, and the chaotic and evil aura next to it is just like a stain, not worth mentioning at all. What kind of world is this? What kind of power has Wang realized? Lin Yu felt as if he was being scratched and was very curious. Lin Yu is very curious and looking forward to it. The king who was involved in the magic book seemed to be experiencing a strange adventure. He felt as if he had entered another world and become another person. A young man with amazing ability. When he was young, his ability was outstanding, and he was like no other. After practicing, he even created amazing boxing skills. After this, it becomes even more lawless. Challenge the strong everywhere and fight whenever you see them. If you are defeated, you will either die or be injured. What you pursue is the ultimate enjoyment, constantly defeating your opponents. Rely on strength and don't take everything seriously. If we continue like this, we will eventually self-destruct. Fortunately, his brother stood up and fought with him. The moves were obviously gentle and had no killing intent, but they were beaten to the ground with all their teeth, leaving no one with the ability to fight back. Therefore, he then repented and sealed his killing move. As a result, he continued to study martial arts and created a boxing technique that was completely opposite to before. As he grows older, his strength becomes stronger and stronger. Finally, he opened a gym and recruited many disciples. Founded a sect and became a master. Completely different from when he was young. Just a few minutes. The king is in his mind, walking through a person's long life. He seemed to be cultivating his mind, experiencing it, and understanding his mental journey. Time to disperse at last. What remained in his mind was the afterimage of a silver-haired, hunchbacked old man. My boxing technique is called Flowing Water Rock-Shattering Fist. The voice of vicissitudes of life came from the mouth of the silver-haired old man. The same comes from the mouth of the king. It is precisely because of this sentence. The king also woke up from the phantom. There was a look of confusion on his face. Complete understanding of power. The magician understands the power of one punch in the world of Superman, the flowing rock-shattering punch. A magician gains power from a magic book. You get a 10,000 times critical hit return. You get the true secret, flowing rock shattering fist. True profound art flowing water rock shattering fist. This is the ultimate sublimation and completion of Silver Fang Bangu's boxing technique. It already has some power as a serious punch. The familiar system prompt sounds. Lin Yu couldn't help but take a breath, feeling extremely shocked. Wang's luck is really good. He actually understood the flowing water rock shattering fist. This is a boxing technique from the world of One Punch Superman. One Punch Superman world can be said to be Saitama's one-man show, the center of the entire world. But it doesn't mean that there are no strong people in this world. Bangu, the Silver Fang, is definitely one of the strongest humans in the Superman world with this punch. Eliminate the Shenron's explosive blasts, and send out tornadoes that rely on super ability. Bangu is the strongest among human beings. When he gets serious, he can even kill dragon-level monsters instantly. In the One Punch Superman world, the definition of a dragon-level monster is an existence that can destroy cities. And Bangu, it is an existence that can kill dragon-level monsters in an instant at the age of 80. If he were a few years younger, he might be able to have a few fights with Saitama. Lias Haoyan Shattering Fist is the secret of boxing that he has studied all his life. It is named after flowing water, but its power is more terrifying than the flames. Wang was indeed very lucky to draw this. But what's even more perverted is the system returns power to him. The secret level Lias Haoyan Shattering Fist after Bangu's research and improvement. There is even some power from Saitama's serious punch. This is a bit scary. Saitama almost jumped half the moon with one kick, and blasted a rift in the earth with one punch. Even this punch only has some power of a serious punch. The power it unleashes is also extremely terrifying. Lin Yu even felt that if he existed in a physical body now, he can even break a hill with one punch. This kind of power is simply terrifying. The power of this boxing technique is not inferior to that of magic. Bangu is really the pinnacle among human beings, a top genius. The flowing water breaking rock fist is also very scary. This is not the flowing water rock shattering fist, the flowing water nuclear bomb fist is almost the same. This guy Wang is indeed a genius magician who can become the sorcerer supreme. To be able to obtain this inheritance, he won't stage a show in the future, where the magician beats Purple Thanos 3 times, right? Lin Yu shook his head and drove these inexplicable thoughts out of his mind. The king over there was shocked when he felt the information in his mind. Wake up from the world created by the magic book. Wang found that the experiences in his mind had become blurry. The only thing he could remember was that the silver-haired old man's name was Bang Ji Yu. There is also the practice method of Lias Haoyan Shattering Fist. As long as he practices step by step, the power of Lias Haoyan Shattering Fist can reach astonishing levels. And because he is a great magician, his original strength is not weak. The Lias Haoyan Shattering Fist did not start from scratch, but started by integrating his combat experience. Wang feels now, the man he is now can definitely kill the man he was before. Lias Haoyan Shattering Fist is a boxing technique specially designed to deal with humans. It's just incredible. There is such a magical thing in this world. Being able to understand such a powerful boxing technique. In comparison, even magic seems to be nothing. The shock in Wang's heart could not be greater. There is definitely not a lot of powerful magic in this world. Quite the opposite. There are many very powerful magics in this world. For example, the magic mastered by Sorcerer Supreme can exert destructive power. Only, even if he is a great magician, he cannot use these magics. In other words, you will pay a terrible price after using it. Kamar Taj's magician is completely different from magic in the conventional sense. They are more like a programmer, and magic is like programming. They are responsible for initiating and keeping the magic running. But how magic works and the power contained in it have nothing to do with them. Some magic cannot be stopped even after being activated, and may even cause unknown consequences. Magic has little gain or benefit for themselves, but may cost them a terrible price. The flowing water breaking rock fist is different. This magic gains seniority. As he slowly practices, his body will become harder than steel. The body also contains incredible power. Bangu is over 80 years old and still able to maintain such an amazing fight. It is inseparable from his practice of Lias Haoyan Shattering Fist. Such a comparison. Magic is nothing. In terms of power, Kamar Taj's magic is similar to that of Liasuian's Shattering Fist, but the cost is completely different. This is an amazing system that is completely different from magic. Luke is right. This magic book is really amazing. Why have I never listened to a book before? Wang's eyes were a little confused. If there was even a little bit of news about this magician before, he, a big magician, would not have heard of it at all. Why haven't you heard of it? Definitely because I didn't show up before. Lin Yu's voice sounded in Wang's ears. Compared to Luke, a little magician, Wang is much calmer. He immediately locked the magic book in front of him, his eyes full of vigilance. What the hell are you? Wang asked doubtfully. It is not an accident that magic items have thoughts and can speak. There is a living cloak in the holy place, and its intelligence is no weaker than that of ordinary people. It's no big deal for him to talk in a book. What worries him is the origin of this book. If this was created by the Hell Gang, it would be troublesome. You'd better be respectful, I'm not an object. Lin Yu said unhappily. The king was immediately stunned by this. Your book has quite a personality. Your book is very cool. Okay, may I ask where you are from? Wang lowered his tone and asked. My origin is incredible. I am a mysterious magic book that existed in the time of ancient gods. I record all the secrets in the world. Appearing among Kamar Taj is to select the so-called chosen one to face the future crisis. And you are the seed I chose. Lin Yu said in a pretentious manner. His domineering aura slightly exuded, and the powerful pressure made even the king and magician feel strong pressure. Wang frowned subconsciously. Would you be so kind? Why can't I? Kamar Taj, magician defending the earth, what good has it done? I choose the chosen ones just to deal with possible crises in the future. It's not to pursue any interests. What have I asked for from you? Lin Yu said calmly. Wang thought for a moment and realized that was really the case. Aren't they Kamar Taj magicians also fighting to protect the earth? Wang was a simple and honest man, and he didn't feel anything was wrong with him, so he believed Lin Yu's words directly. Thank you, master, for your advice. No need to thank me, go find more people. Only when more people pass on knowledge can we be prepared for disaster. And not everyone can become a strong person. Lin Yu said something profound. Wang must be fooled by him. Because from the king's perspective, he is doing charity. Knowledge imparts knowledge and requires nothing. But he didn't know that the system Lin Yu wanted had already been given to him. This honest magician is probably destined to work for him. He sets a small goal first. Let's talk about carving out Kamar Taj's corner. After Lin Yu deceived Wang. Just like before, he hid himself mysteriously. The magic book suddenly disappeared in front of me. The king didn't notice at all. Even though this was not the first time, Wang was still shocked. I felt more and more mysterious about this magic book. In my heart, I also believed in the so-called chosen one in the magic book. He had doubts at first. But he really couldn't find anything to be suspicious of. Demons grant powers to people, usually for the sake of their souls. The magic book was simply passed down to him and nothing was taken away. As a big magician, that's for sure. If we could really collect his belongings silently, there would be no need to go to such trouble. It's really like a dream. Wang walked out of the library with a dazed look on his face. He even suspected that everything that happened in the library before was an illusion. But everything in my mind proves that it is true. Is it true? Just go to the training ground and practice. Naturally you will know. Wang muttered to himself, raised his legs and walked towards a hidden place. In the library, Lin Yu watched Wang leave with a smile on his face. Once he realizes the power of the system, he should be convinced. When the time comes, look for good seedlings for me. Lin Yu thought happily in her heart. This kind of honest person is easier to fool. If it were a guy like Nick Fury who was full of scheming. Even if a plate of good food was placed in front of him, he would still wonder if someone had poisoned it. King, you big magician, don't let me down. Lin Yu's insight and unique power of perception were all placed on Wang. The king's purpose is clear. He quickly returned to his room. After closing the door, Wang just stretched his hand forward a little. The space in front of him was like broken glass, with countless cracks appearing. Mirror dimension. Lin Yu, who was observing secretly, frowned. This mirror dimension is definitely one of Kamar Taj's most perverted magics. Entering the mirror space of the real world is equivalent to entering another world anytime and anywhere. Absolutely perverted. It is precisely because of this magic that magicians can fight in busy cities without being discovered. The king enters the mirror dimension. How can I observe it? Lin Yu couldn't help but frown. The ability to see, hear, and see is indeed very perverted. If he practices to the extreme, he can peek into the future, but he is not yet able to travel through space. Lin Yu was a little troubled. Mental power can be extended at will. Only then did he realize that the special vision brought to him by the magic book, which was like spiritual power, could enter the mirror dimension without any hindrance. Lin Yu was overjoyed. System, eternal God. With a feeling of surprise, Lin Yu watched intently. However, he discovered that in the mirror dimension, Wang had manipulated a large number of surrounding buildings to form a platform of huge amounts under his feet. Lin Yu looked amazed. Kamar Taj's magic is indeed unique. The ability to manipulate and change reality at will in the mirror dimension is really cool. However, there is still a slight gap compared to what the system provides. In the mirror dimension, Wang has already made a move. Well, let's see how powerful it is first. Lu Shui rock shattering fist. The king's eyes flashed with light. Reach out and flick. The debris of various buildings in the distance swarmed in like flowing water. A line of huge amounts of stone tablets formed in front of her. Wang took a deep breath and began to understand the power of Lius Haoyan shattering fist. What is inherited in the magic book is a kind of power, let alone a system. Lius Haoyan shattering fist not only contains various moves, but also contains the core of this system, which is the breathing method. As the saying goes, practicing boxing without practicing kung fu will lead to nothing. If boxing is compared to a car, there is no doubt that breathing is the core engine. Without breathing, nothing else is. The same is true for the flowing rock shattering fist. This breathing method is also the essence of the essence. Take a deep breath. Wang felt a stream of air constantly flowing through his body. Bend your legs slightly and slide your hands. There was actually a white air flow visible to the naked eye emerging in the air. Wang didn't notice this at all at the moment, and was fully concentrating on the power of Lius Haoyan's shattering fist. The power of flowing water uses softness to overcome hardness. The water flow is extremely gentle, but also extremely explosive. How to use it depends on your concentration. Wang muttered to himself. The white air flow like flowing water lingered around his hands, becoming more and more intense. And it is constantly moving with the movement of his hands. He would turn his hands twice in front of his face. Wang's eyes immediately became sharp. Ha! Wang yelled and punched directly. With white energy like running water, he hit in front of him. Boom! That punch hit the tall stone monument in front of him with as much power as an explosion. Boom! It was as if dozens of kilograms of TNT exploded in this stone monument. The huge stone monument, which was made of reinforced concrete and was about 10 meters high, was directly smashed into pieces. Stone rain rose from the sky and fell around, revealing Wang's dumbfounded face. It's actually so powerful. Terrible. It's impossible for magic to be so powerful in the first place. Wang's eyes widened and he couldn't help but sigh. Magic is indeed strong. There is no magic that can exert such destructive power. Only, what kind of magic are those? Those are those who can explode such terrifying power with the help of deity's power, or the power of powerful existences. That kind of magic is extremely difficult to learn. What about the flowing water breaking rock fist? He just got used to it not long ago, so he just used his original power. It can exert such power. It's really unimaginable. The king, who had been practicing magic for decades, even had the urge to give up all his magic. The gap between the two is really too big. He now believed that what the magic book said about finding the chosen one was true. Don't look for the chosen one. There is no need to teach such a powerful move. But what is the origin of this magic book? To be able to inherit such unimaginable magic. And there's more than one kind, and Luke also has one in his hands. They are still two completely unrelated systems. It's unimaginable. It's just unimaginable. Wang Lian said two unimaginable words to describe his shock. I felt more and more that this magic book was unfathomable and unimaginable. Lin Yu was very satisfied with following all this in the library. Very good. This one is already deceptive. Kamar Taj is massive and a magical place on earth. But actually, there are not many big magicians in Kamar Taj. The total number is only 10, and most of them are still outside guarding the holy place. In Kamar Taj proper, there are only 3 or 2 people there all year round. Mordo, King, and Hamel and the like. On this day, Kamar Taj's huge magic portal was opened directly. A dusty figure walked out of the portal. Big magician. Many magicians bowed their heads and saluted when they saw this person coming out of the portal. The gloomy-looking man just nodded and left proudly. This returning person is none other than someone else. It was Caecilius, a disciple of the Ancient One and one of the great magicians of Kamar Taj. Caecilius has not yet been bewitched by Dormammu and fallen into darkness. Still Kamar Taj's most popular magician. When he went out this time, he actually went to destroy a demonic projection that descended on the earth. This type of attack would be worthy of note even in the history of magic. Having done all this, Caecilius was naturally very proud. He doesn't take anyone seriously except Ancient One. Taking several of his senior magicians with him, Caecilius went to rest for a while before preparing to go to the main hall of Kamar Taj. Not for anything else, just to announce in a high-profile manner that he is back and show his presence. If you want to say that Caecilius has any intention of fighting for power, you would really underestimate him. He was dismissive even of the power within Kamar Taj. All he cares about is the magical path and his face. Every time he comes back, Caecilius is always in such a high profile. With a few magicians behind him. Caecilius doesn't look like a big magician, but like a gangster. A group of people just walked into the Kamar Taj hall. Mordo sat in his seat and looked at some records. These are records of magicians going out to eliminate demons, and they need to be carefully reviewed by Mordo. So he, a big magician, is usually very busy. Caecilius walked in aggressively, which naturally attracted Mordo's attention. When he looked up, he was not so surprised to see that the person coming was Caecilius. Caecilius was so domineering that he couldn't do it for a day or two. Caecilius, when did you come back? Mordo asked. Just came back. Caecilius looked around. Why isn't the king here? Doesn't this guy remember his lesson? Caecilius scoffed. Mordo frowned. The king and Caecilius did not deal with each other for a day or two. Because of differences in a certain task, the two people have always had great conflicts. It's okay when Sorcerer Supreme is here, but if Sorcerer Supreme isn't there, it's going to be a big problem. Now as soon as Caecilius returned, he began to cause trouble for the king. Everyone is a magician, why do you need to worry about everything? The teacher will be unhappy if you do this. Mordo spoke. After hearing this, Caecilius restrained himself a little. But at this moment, Wang walked in from outside. The king, who had always been a simple and honest man, now showed a rare edge. I said the air in Kamar Taj is full of disgusting smell. It turns out the egomaniac is back. Wang Yinyang said angrily. The king has always been very honest and very popular in Kamar Taj, but Caecilius provoked the king into this. It shows how much he went too far. But Caecilius doesn't think he's going too far. He snorted coldly. It seems like you've grown a lot in the time I've been gone. Otherwise, how dare you speak nonsense in front of me? Caecilius said with a sneer. Mordo couldn't help but smile bitterly and started. These two people would often fight when they met, and the conflict was quite serious. Kamar Taj was originally a training ground specially opened for magicians. After the two people clashed, the training ground was directly destroyed. From then on, all magicians who want to train magic can only go to the mirror dimension. He knew that today was inevitable. You two stop talking nonsense. Kamar Taj still has a lot to deal with. Go to the mirror dimension and solve it quickly. Mordo snorted coldly. Although the conflict between these two people is great, with Sorcerer Supreme around, they can't cause any trouble. After the fight, he was still very honest. Moreover, there are also benefits to fighting between magicians. Internal competition may not look good on face, but it will definitely not be life-threatening. This is why Sorcerer Supreme did not stop it at all, but rather condoned it. Snort, snort. The two men snorted at the same time. A little in front of me, the space in front of me shattered like glass. Two people walked into the mirror dimension from two different directions. Modu shook his head and followed. In the library, Lin Yu, who was very bored and could only use his dominance to fight ants, naturally would not miss this opportunity. Caecilius is the only one who dares to betray the Ancient One. There's something good to watch. Lin Yu's eyes shone with excitement. He remembered that in the movie, Caecilius, who had gained the power of Dormammu, was unstoppable. Except that the Ancient One can't beat it. No one in Kamar Taj was his enemy. Now he wanted to see how strong this original version of Caecilius was. The mental power spread out, easily penetrating the barrier of the mirror dimension. Lin Yu quickly saw the scene. Caecilius and Wang stood looking at each other, with Mordo watching from a distance. Caecilius' face was gloomy, but there was a bit of an evil smile on his lips, while Wang maintained his expressionless face. I really don't know who gave you courage. Wang, you have fought against me hundreds of times, which one have you ever won? To be honest, I really admire your perseverance. Caecilius said with a sneer. The battle has always started before the battle begins. But his verbal provocation had no effect this time. The king opposite him was very calm. It seems like you've really made some progress. It's really not easy. Let me see how much you have grown. Caecilius sneered. A stroke of skill. A transparent blade appeared out of thin air in his hand. Buzz. There was a slight buzz. Where the transparent blade scratched, cracks appeared in the air. This terrifying weapon actually tore apart the cracked space. Lin Yu looked in the sky and was amazed. As expected of the great magician of Kamar Taj, a disciple of the Ancient One. Sure enough, he has the ability to be arrogant. It looks like there's something good to watch. Lin Yu was in a very happy mood. Since ancient times, one of the most interesting things in the world is to watch other people fight. Chapter 11. I won't say much about Caecilius's character. Maybe he could be noticed by the Ancient One and become his disciple. In terms of magic ability, it is truly powerful. Even though he didn't take the longest time to get started, he has become one of the strongest magicians in Kamar Taj. The magic he just used. It's the magic he created after becoming a great magician. Directly drive space debris as your own weapon. Indestructible and invincible. There is no substance in this world that can resist the cutting of his space magic. Only the magic of Kamar Taj can resist one or two. It is precisely with this powerful method that Caecilius can be so arrogant and ignore everything else. He had fought against Wang many times before and had achieved great results. Although it didn't reach the level of beating the king to the ground as he said, it was not far off. You are so confident, let me see what you have. Caecilius shouted loudly and stepped forward with his weapon in hand. The magicians of Kamar Taj generally have much better physical fitness than ordinary people. Although it is not as perverted as a human being, it has definitely reached a level that exceeds the limits of ordinary humans. Caecilius had already crossed the distance of tens of meters in 2 steps. The whole person has been pressed in front of the king. The space blade in his hand swept towards the king. This weapon is like transparent glass and looks fragile. But it is essentially a space fragment restrained by magical power. It is extremely sharp and cannot be destroyed by ordinary magic. It really made him paddle across it all at once. Wang's entire body would be easily cut in half. But Wang seemed completely unaware and had no intention of resisting. Caecilius frowned, feeling that the king's actions were a bit abnormal. But he also showed no intention of stopping. They were old rivals who had been together for so many years. He knew that it was impossible for Wang to be unable to block such a simple attack. If that's really the case, he would not regard Wang as an opponent. The faint arc light separated the air, leaving a transparent trace in the midair. Until the transparent blade was about to approach the king. The king reacted. In an instant, Wang's fat body burst out with agility that was completely inappropriate for his size. In the blink of an eye, the queen took a step back. He raised his hands. The white air flow was already entangled in his hands. It left a distinct white trail in the air. Wang Heron just wanted to use his hand to catch the space blade. A hint of disbelief flashed in Caecilius's eyes. Is Wang crazy? That is a blade condensed from space. Not to mention flesh and blood, even steel, rock, and even Kamar Taj's magic are very difficult to resist. If he were not of the same level, he would be able to use the space blade to tear apart the opponent's defense in an instant. Not even the demons from hell can withstand this kind of attack. Wong actually tried to use his hands to catch the space blade. Is there something wrong with my brain? He had a conflict with the king. But we haven't reached the point of meeting life and death yet. Caecilius subconsciously wanted to withdraw his strength. But at this time, it's too late. The space blade slashed at the king at an indomitable speed. Caecilius seemed to have seen the scene where the king was cut into two pieces by this extremely sharp magic, and his expression became very ugly. Wong was very calm. Silver-white light shone on his hands, and finally, there seemed to be silver-white light flying out of the corners of his eyes. Until the space blade arrived in front of him. Wong Kai's eyes lit up. Lu Shui rock shattering fist. Water has no permanent potential, and water has no permanent shape. All the strength seems to have never existed in front of the water flow. The king's fingers flickered with white light and directly touched the transparent space blade. The power of space was so sharp that it seemed to be able to cut through space. They all seemed to be softened and dissolved by the silvery white light. Wong flicked his finger, and the space blade vibrated violently. He raised his hand again and swung his wrist. Like a crane feeding on food, his fingers hit Caecilius's wrist directly. Caecilius only felt his wrist shake, and the space blade in his hand came out directly. What? Caecilius's eyes revealed a trace of visible surprise. Even if he withdraws his power and reduces his control, weapons shouldn't be able to come out so easily. For a big magician, this is simply impossible. But this outrageous thing just happened. What happened just now? After all, Caecilius is a magician and can adapt very quickly. The moment the weapon was released, he was already flying back, and a magic shield appeared in his hand. In the blink of an eye, he had retreated more than 10 meters away. Lu Shui rock shattering fist. What kind of magic is this? Caecilius looked at the king with doubtful eyes and asked. Wong waved his hands. The silvery white air flow slowly dispersed. It's not magic. This is boxing. Wong slowly spoke. Absurd. Is there any boxing technique in this world that can easily take away a magician's weapon? King, don't you think this is ridiculous? If you don't want to say it, you don't have to say it. Why bother using this excuse to frustrate me? Caecilius looked very ugly. The two of them had a bad relationship, and it was normal for Wong not to tell him the truth. But you can't make the mistake of using such a weak-minded answer to prevaricate him, right? Boxing. There is no such kind of boxing technique in this world. The Ancient One traveled all over the earth back then. There is an ocean of books in Kamar Taj's library, which contain more than just magic. Many boxing techniques have also been recorded, and there are even many things that were lost in ancient times. But these things are no match for an ordinary magician. He was a big magician and easily had his weapons taken away from him. Although this was the result of him being unprepared and deliberately letting loose. But this is definitely not a mysterious boxing technique that can be explained clearly. Wong is simply insulting his intelligence. Caecilius was furious, but the king opposite him was filled with shock. He thought he already understood the power of this boxing technique. But I didn't expect it to be underestimated. Compared to the tyrannical power. The more powerful thing about Liusuian Shattering Fist is its various moves against humanoid enemies. The reason why Wong didn't take action just now. It's because a large number of enemy defeating plans reappeared in his mind. He just chose the simplest one. Too strong. The power of this inheritance is really too powerful and terrifying. Wong was extremely shocked. It took him a long time to regain his composure. Look at Caecilius. Suddenly I felt that this old rival was particularly ignorant. It's not that such boxing techniques don't exist, it's just that you are ignorant. Wong said calmly. In the mirror dimension, Caecilius and the king stood looking at each other with ugly expressions on their faces. He had always looked down upon Wong somewhat. He thought Wong was very pedantic and did not know how to adapt. The king's strength has never been as strong as his, so facing the king, Caecilius has always been very arrogant. But he didn't expect that today he would be called ignorant by the king. How could he endure this? Caecilius laughed in anger. That's ridiculous. You, a loser who only knows how to hang out in underground boxing matches, have the nerve to say that I have little knowledge. You don't have to say it if you don't want to. Why bother? It's a loss of face for a big magician. After hearing this, Wang sighed and couldn't help but shake his head. He knew that Caecilius would not believe this explanation. He was just too conceited and proud. He only believed in himself and never believed in others. In that case, there is no need to say anything more. Let's see the real chapter. Wang waved his hands, and silver-white airflow emerged. Caecilius's pupils shrank, but his mouth remained unmoved. It's not magic to keep saying it. How can we mobilize the power of the universe if it is not magic? While sneering, Caecilius wiped his hands. A huge amount of transparent blade appeared in his hand. He also waved his other hand, and a red magic shield appeared in his hand. Caecilius has always used offense instead of defense. Now he has started to use shield, which shows that he is afraid of the king. At an astonishing speed, Caecilius blinked in front of the king and stabbed out with the space blade in his hand without saying a word. The sharp space fragments directly shattered the space, and the air was broken with a white trace. Faced with such a menacing attack, Wang's face remained calm. Useless, Caecilius. Water has no shape. An attack like yours cannot break through my defense. Wang spoke. But Caecilius, however, had no intention of paying attention to the king and continued to move forward. It was as if he would not give up until the king was killed. It's useless. Forget it, I'll let you give up. Flowing water formation. Wang shouted loudly. The hands began to move softly. The silver-white airflow emanating from his hands actually began to sway constantly as his hands danced. With the continuous movement of his hands, a sparse wall formed by white airflow suddenly formed in front of the king. It seemed to be full of loopholes that could be passed through at will. Caecilius's pupils shrank again. He actually felt a bit of danger in this seemingly ordinary thing. I do not believe. Caecilius snorted in his heart. He didn't believe it. How long had he been away from Kamar Taj? It's only half a month to break through the sky. In just half a month, could Wang have such a change? Impossible. This must be some kind of cover-up. Caecilius strengthened his confidence and stabbed forward again. The space blade seemed to kill all enemies in front of it. It was only when his space blade penetrated the king's attack that Caecilius realized something was wrong. The area around the king was like a puddle of mud. His attacks actually felt weak, and it was like a raging undercurrent of a river, as if countless hands were constantly stirring it, making his attacks useless. It was intended to be a straight thrust, but it unknowingly moved away from the target. Not only that, Wang turned his hand, and strange power accompanied his wrist movement. The space blade in Caecilius's hand flipped over instantly, and was struck by a strong force, slashing towards his own. Fortunately, Caecilius is also decisive. He turned aside and immediately gave up his weapon. Only then did he avoid the tragedy of being cut in half by the space blade. Borrowing strength. Good means. I didn't expect you would actually improve so much after not seeing me for such a long time. But you can borrow power, but I don't believe it. You can also borrow magic. Caecilius looked gloomy. Just take a few steps back. Make a hand gesture. Although Kamar Taj is called a melee magician by the outside world, when fighting, most of the time he rushes to fight with the magic in his hand. But the most powerful thing in their hands. Still magic. They have mastered the most powerful magical power in the world. As Caecilius needed, red electric sparks formed in front of him. In an instant, a huge amount of saw gears flashing with red light was formed. This gear is constantly rotating, with mysterious textures engraved on it, and it exudes amazing energy pressure, as if it is going to chop everything into pieces. Buzz. Exuding an astonishing momentum, the giant red wheel headed towards the king. Caecilius snorted. Now let's see how you can use your strength to fight. Wang opened his eyes and glanced at him. Caecilius, everything in the world has a context. Magic is no exception. As long as you master its energy veins, it is not difficult to use its strength to exert force. Although this fist technique is called flowing water rock shattering fist, flowing water is not just water. Energy can also be controlled like water. Said. Wang moved his hands, and silver-white energy flashed. These silver-white airflows actually move the surrounding air. It also drives the surrounding energy to flow continuously. In front of the king, a whirlpool of huge amounts seemed to be formed. The huge red wheel seemed to be stuck in a quagmire again, and its speed was getting slower and slower. Back to you. Wang said, turning his hands. This red magic wheel was thrown back by him again. And compared to the previous time, the momentum was even more terrifying and astonishing. Caecilius dodged awkwardly and thus avoided the fate of being cut in half. What the hell is this? How can boxing be so powerful? This power is more powerful than magic. Caecilius was furious. After being a magician for so many years, this was the first time he saw something that could deflect magic. It's simply outrageous. Wang also told him that this was a form of boxing. Isn't this a joke? Search the entire earth to find this kind of boxing technique. With boxing skills of this level, who would want to learn magic? Just go and practice boxing. Magic attacks can be returned with strength, which is unreasonable. Can this thing be called boxing? Caecilius has even more reason to believe that this is a more powerful form of magic. Seeing the calm king over there, Caecilius felt itchy with hatred. Modu, who was watching from the side, was also surprised. The methods used by the king were really tyrannical. Using Caecilius's magic one after another, even Sorcerer Supreme may not be able to do it so easily. Can boxing have such power? Isn't this a joke? When did the king become so cunning? Wang's flowing water rock-shattering fist, shocking the other two magicians present. The power of the inheritance provided by the system is simply shocking. Even Lin Yu, who was observing secretly in the library, couldn't help but marvel. I can't help but feel that the system is too abnormal. The power of Lius Haoyan's shattering fist was even more powerful than he imagined. This makes Lin Yu even more excited about the power of his fully leveled flowing rock-shattering fist. He doesn't have a human body now, so he can't exert the maximum power of Lius Haoyan's shattering fist. This makes Lin Yu very looking forward to it. If he really had a body, how terrifying this punch could be. Just when Lin Yu was looking forward to it, in the mirror dimension, the duel between Wang and Caecilius continues. Although Caecilius was shocked by the flowing water rock-shattering fist in Wang's hand, he did not admit defeat. Or, Caecilius never surrenders. He stared at Wang, with very complicated emotions in his eyes. Have to say, King, you quite surprised me. I didn't expect that with your not-so-amazing ability, you could actually perform like this. Now I need to consider getting to know you again. Caecilius said in a deep voice. The magician's ability to adjust emotions is beyond ordinary people. Soon he calmed down again. The shock and panic just now were directly suppressed. This is the strength of the great magician. His rich experience is not comparable to that of ordinary magicians. Even under these circumstances, Caecilius was still able to keep his cool. Caecilius is arrogant, but his strength cannot be faked at all. Even now, he still has no idea of admitting defeat. You can't beat me. Wang also said calmly. With the powerful power in his hands, Wang Yi became a lot more confident. Facing a once powerful enemy, but no one was nervous. The existence of the flowing rock-shattering fist has greatly increased his strength, and he is now definitely one of the strongest magicians in Kamar Taj. Caecilius is definitely asking for trouble by fighting him now. This doesn't matter what you say. A sharp look flashed in Caecilius's eyes. Reach out. Dazzling light flashed. A lightsaber emitting white gold light appeared in his hand. This lightsaber is about 1 meter long. It doesn't look like a sword, but a diamond-shaped iron knife. But in Kamar Taj, this is called a sword. The sacred sword of Emperor Weishan. You really have outstanding ability, and you have mastered this magic. When Wang saw this scene, he couldn't help being surprised. The magic used by Caecilius is none other than one of Kamar Taj's most powerful attack magics. Borrowing the power of the great existence Weishan Emperor to form a powerful magic weapon. This is the power built entirely with the great Weishan Emperor. The scorching power can obliterate everything. There are no more than one magician in Kamar Taj who can master this magic. Wang Yi couldn't help but sigh. Caecilius' ability was really outstanding. Among these great magicians, he is definitely at the top. He actually mastered such powerful magic. Caecilius was in no mood to care about the king's mood. Holding the sacred sword of Emperor Weishan in his hand, he rushed forward. This weapon glowed with platinum light and constantly began to drop sparks to the ground. This scorching energy is constantly dripping from the blade in his hand. Ordinary people know that scorching sparks should have no power. But This sacred sword of Emperor Weishan is different. This terrifying lightsaber has extremely amazing power. Even if the magic sparks fall to the ground, they still have very terrifying power. The ground was burned by this terrifying power. A step. Caecilius just bowed and slashed forward. It's no wonder that outsiders denounce Kamar Taj's magicians as melee magicians. In fact, few of these big magicians are good at magic. Most of them are fighting in close combat with magic. In the entire Kamar Taj, the closest thing to a magician is Doctor Strange. I have to say that it really makes my head hurt. Caecilius serves as one of the combat leaders of the entire Kamar Taj. Naturally, he is not an ordinary magician, and naturally he is not a simple long-range magician. He is also a pure melee warrior. Very agile and powerful. Caecilius's attack was astonishingly powerful. The silvery white light lit up again in Wang's hand. Only this time, his attack was somewhat restrained. High temperature. Wang's eyes narrowed slightly. The flowing rock-shattering fist can indeed withstand many attacks. In particular, physical attacks cannot break through the defenses of his attacks. Only, the sacred sword of Emperor Weishan is not only extremely sharp, but also carries an astonishingly high temperature. That is the additional effect brought about by the power of the great Weishan Emperor. The king can block the body of Emperor Weishan's sacred sword, but he can't block the high temperature above. If the breathing method hadn't strengthened his physical fitness, he would have been injured at this moment. Even so, he couldn't resist for long. Boom! The king took a step back and dodged an attack. People in my heart couldn't help but sigh. This is not because Lius Howian's shattering fist is not strong enough, but because he is not strong enough. The time he had to acquire this punch was too short. After all the fighting, how long did it take for him to get this boxing technique? Not even a day. Being able to suppress Caecilius with this is already extremely amazing. The most common tricks are still not enough to deal with the sacred sword of Emperor Weishan, a top-notch magic. Caecilius, how about this concludes our sparring session today? Wang said softly. No, Caecilius said nothing. The sacred sword of Emperor Weishan in his hand kept waving. The blazing sword body heats up the surrounding air a little. The terrifying white light emitted by this magic made those who looked directly at it unable to help but squint their eyes. There are some powerful tricks. I might not be able to control it myself. I don't want to use it to hurt everyone's harmony. Wang explained again. Snort. If you have the ability, use it. Am I afraid of you? Caecilius looked sarcastic, but had no intention of stopping. Lift the weapon directly with your backhand and pick it up directly. The attack methods were quite ferocious, not like a normal sparring match at all. Seeing this attack, the king stopped hesitation. In this case, I won't hold back. The king also lost his temper. He snorted coldly. His hands moved with silvery white light. An amazing aura emanated from his body. His fist became completely different from normal, as if it had been turned into silver. Modu's eyes lit up as he stood beside him. What a powerful aura fluctuation. It seemed that he once again underestimated the power of the punches used by Wang. This punch was more powerful than he thought. Lius Howian's shattering fist is not a simple boxing technique. The magic book gave him more than just moves. There are also powerful breathing techniques. In the world of One Punch Superman, at the last moment, Bangu used the breathing method to directly kill several dragon-level monsters and almost saved the world. Wang is definitely not as good as Bang Ji-yu, who has practiced boxing all his life. It's just that he has just obtained the flowing rock-shattering fist and is not proficient in the breathing method. Even so, it's enough. The breathing method can greatly enhance his physical strength, power and defense in a short period of time. It can be said that this is a buff that comprehensively enhances itself. Silvery white light covered the king's hand. This strange power directly enhanced the king's physical strength to an incredible level. Not only that, there is also a layer of strange energy protection on the surface of his skin. Wang felt like he was wearing a suit of moving armor, with huge power filling his body. The king had the illusion that he was invincible. He felt his body burning again constantly. Powerful power is constantly generated in each cell. This is breathing method, a means of developing the human body's ultimate potential. It looks like a quick victory is in order. Wang thought in his heart. Even if he was wide and fat and had a lot of energy in his body, he wouldn't be able to sustain it for long. Now the energy burning in his body relies entirely on the previous power. Buzz. The silver stream of light constantly flashed around Wang Huan. The king seems to be a transformed Super Saiyan. The whole body was shrouded in silver light. There were 2 bits of silver light escaping from the corners of his eyes, with an astonishing momentum. Wang's terrifying momentum. Mordo and Caecilius were stunned. But Caecilius is not one to admit defeat so easily. The same is true even if the king showed such amazing momentum. Holding the sacred sword of Emperor Weixin, he rushed forward. Buzz, buzz. It's like in Star Wars, where the Jedi keep waving their lightsabers. The air was filled with the sound of energy beating. It's useless. This thing can't do anything to me now, Wang said in a deep voice. This time Wang was uncharacteristic and no longer used his usual square jade form. Instead, he attacked directly with his fist. The silver-white shining fist struck Caecilius. His fist. It directly collided with the lightsaber swung by Caecilius. Buzz. The two collide. Countless sparks splashed out. Impossible, Caecilius screamed out in surprise. He didn't seem to believe in evil. He directly held the lightsaber in both hands and used all his strength to slash at the king in front of him. The king didn't care. Once again, skill is just one punch. Buzz. The two collided, and fire radiated. Caecilius' pupils narrowed suddenly. What the hell is this? How is it possible to forcefully take over the sacred sword of Emperor Weixin? Caecilius was immediately shocked and angry. His eyes were full of disbelief. What a joke. The magic that the physical body can resist is still this kind of high-level magic with deity's power attached. Is this world still reasonable? Even their Kamar Taj magic makes sense. Ordinary magic corresponds to ordinary magic, and is the magic borrowed from deity's power, which is the highest level of magic. The destructive power is astonishing. Now, this invincible magic was actually blocked by a pair of physical fists. This is simply unreasonable. This is simply outrageous. Modu next to him was also stunned. He now suspected that Wang might have eaten something. Why is he so fierce? According to the statement, the method he is using now is actually a boxing technique. This boxing technique is there. Magic is not that outrageous. Even the Sorcerer Supreme cannot physically resist the sacred sword of Emperor Weixin. Can this guy Wang still be considered a magician? Although there are many sighs in my heart. Modu did not speak. It would be nice if Caecilius received a lesson to avoid being so arrogant. It's okay inside Kamar Taj. The magicians are just discussing with each other, but they won't be serious about it. It's different when you go out. Even a great magician is not invincible. Modu didn't speak. Caecilius naturally wouldn't stop. There is a reason why Caecilius became a great magician. In addition to being arrogant and conceited, there is also a bit of darkness in his heart. He is calm, decisive and tenacious. This is evident from his ability to become a great magician. Even though everything in front of him shocked him, he still didn't give up the attack. The sacred sword of Emperor Weixin in his hand kept waving, and Wang kept fighting. For a while, he didn't seem to be at a disadvantage at all. It can be seen that this Kamar Taj magician is really not weak. If Wang didn't have the flowing rock-shattering fist, he would never be his opponent. This also shows the power of Lius Haoyan shattering fist. Just let Wang, a big magician who is not as good as Caecilius, directly suppress Caecilius and beat him. Don't look at the queen who later became the Sorcerer Supreme. But now, his strength in magic is definitely not as good as Caecilius. Lu Shuiyan's shattering fist evened the gap in combat power between the two. It's really amazing. Buzz, buzz. One of Kamar Taj's most powerful offensive magics, the sacred sword of Emperor Weixin constantly collided with the king's fleshy palms. But there was nothing that could be done to Wang. On the contrary, Caecilius was quite restrained. In fact, every attack by the king was powerful and heavy. If he was hit, he would probably be seriously injured. The expression on Caecilius's face gradually darkened. It's time to end this. If you can block my blow, you will win this time. Wang snorted coldly. It's a shameless talk. I, Caecilius, never needed you to say such things to me. Caecilius was furious. He felt that Wang was simply looking down on him. Take the move, Caecilius struck a powerful blow and temporarily forced the king back. Then make a direct seal with both hands. 2 portals appeared directly on both sides of him, and he waved his hand. 2 transparent space blades were thrown in. His whole body also rushed forward. Relying on the portal, Caecilius instantly achieved the effect of a 3-sided attack. It's really great. Unfortunately, I am no longer the person I used to be. Explosive heart liberation fist. Wang's hands worked together, and powerful huge amounts of silver-white power burst out. Huge amounts of silver-white energy directly formed something like a wave. Terrifying power burst out. Caecilius' space blade was directly deflected. Caecilius himself was swimming against the current, desperately resisting. But like a mayfly shaking a tree, it was blown away by the terrifying energy. If Wang hadn't deliberately restrained his strength, Caecilius may have been seriously injured. Seeing this extremely terrifying power, everyone suddenly took a breath. Boom! Huge amounts of roaring sounds were heard. The terrifying energy flow directly left a terrifying trace of hundreds of meters on the ground. The ground was torn to pieces by the energy raging everywhere. Wang also felt that his heart was beating fast. It took a few quick breaths to calm down. Looking at the destruction just caused, Wang couldn't help but feel shocked. No wonder Bangbu wanted to seal this move and never use it again. The power is simply too strong. The power that condensed and exploded in that moment was simply terrifying. What a terrible trick. However, too much explosion will hurt others and yourself. At this time, Modu also came over and said. His eyes were full of wonder. It was obvious that the power of the magic just now was very terrifying. If it is a comparison, perhaps only Kumar Taj's most powerful destructive magic, Bosat's Thunder, has this level of power. It's just that this level of magic is mastered by only 2 people in the entire Kumar Taj. This is completely incomparable to Wang. Even if there is some damage, it is nothing compared to this terrifying power. It's because I can't practice well. Otherwise it won't be able to cause damage to me. Wang looked at his red hands and said, breathing techniques can enhance physical fitness. One punch in the world of Superman, Bang Ji-yu was attacked by a dragon-level monster but remained unscathed. The most serious injury was just a little blood. It can be seen that his physical fitness is strong. Wang just obtained this boxing technique not long ago and did not have time to temper his body. Wang and Mordo talked to each other. Caecilius, who was knocked out next to him, was not in a good mood. It can even be said that I feel very bad. The expression on his face was very complicated, with shock, anger, disbelief and other emotions mixed together. It can be said that a face change was staged. His face, which was gloomy at first, now looks a bit funny. The expression on his face changed unpredictably for a long time before Caecilius regained his composure. King, you are very good. You exceeded my expectations this time. Caecilius looked at the king with a serious expression on his face. If you lose, you lose. There is nothing to admit. Caecilius is not someone who cannot afford to play. Wang also looked over and shook his head. If I didn't get the opportunity, I can't compare to you. He himself has a clear understanding of this. If it weren't for his good luck in obtaining the knowledge in the magic book, he is definitely no match for the amazingly capable Caecilius. Luck is also a type of strength, Caecilius said dully. If someone got lucky and could defeat him, Caecilius, then he wouldn't have to mess around. Even if he obtains powerful means, he cannot do without the support of Wang's own strength. He won't deny it, but he will definitely practice hard and get his situation back this time. Taking a deep breath, Caecilius asked again. The real punch you just used? That's right. Wang did not deny it. He is honest and doesn't want to lie to others. As soon as he stretched out his hand, his fist was covered with silvery white light. Mordo and Caecilius looked at each other, their eyes full of solemnity. Where did the royal family get such powerful means? Their hearts were full of doubts, but the 2 of them were just envious. He would not ask other people's secrets without knowing the depth. This is not what a gentleman would do. The 3 of them were silent for a moment. Modu spoke. It's okay, you'll gain wisdom after every hardship. It's a good thing that you failed this time. It's better than losing your life outside. If your eyes are higher than your head, something will happen sooner or later. Caecilius gave Modu a cold look. Snort. Mordo also knew Caecilius's temper. This guy didn't open his mouth to refute, he had already listened. Okay, now that the discussion is over. You don't have to stay here anymore. Kamar Taj has a lot going on. Modu spoke. Reach out. The space in front of him shattered like glass, and a kaleidoscope seemed to appear in front of him. Without stopping, they strolled out of the mirror dimension. Wang followed the two men. After he came out, he took a deep breath and spoke. I got the opportunity in the library. If you want to learn something, go to the library and have a look. But let me remind you first, even if you go, you may not gain anything. That opportunity is very mysterious. The first time I went there, I didn't find anything. Wang Kai reminded. After saying that, regardless of how the two people reacted, they walked out casually. On the contrary, the remaining two people were a little confused. They had also seen the king's methods before. You could say so. The power is amazing. Ask yourself, if it were them, would they tell others this kind of thing? Mordo and Caecilius were silent. After a moment, Modu spoke. Do you think what Wang said is true? Caecilius glanced at Mordo with disdain. You and I have been getting along with Wang for more than 10 years. Have you ever seen Wang cheating on others? With a cold word, Caecilius turned and left. Compared to Wang, he actually looked down on Modu even more. He seems to be honest and decent, but in his heart he is jealous of talents and is very dark. I don't know how the Ancient One fell in love with him. He is a little arrogant at best, but he definitely doesn't bother to plot others behind their backs. Since the king said this, based on his understanding of the king, he must not be telling lies. It seems that he has to go to the library to check it out. Maybe we can get some other opportunities, it's not impossible. I made up my mind. Caecilius decisively went to the library. As soon as I entered the door, I saw a familiar muscular figure beside the bookshelf. Not someone else. It was Modu who broke up with him before. The two looked at each other, and Modu looked away in embarrassment. I came here to look for some magical information. Modu said. Hee. Caecilius glanced at Modu mockingly and wandered around the library minding his own business. He constantly scanned the books in the library, trying to see what the differences were. Only, after scanning several times, he found nothing. It is no exaggeration to say that every great magician came from the library. They can know the location of every speck of dust in the library. But this can happen in time. He still didn't notice anything unusual. What's happening here? Could it be that Wang was really deceiving them? You can act like one, but you absolutely shouldn't. Also, opportunity. It's so accessible out there. Don't worry, we might meet you sometime. Caecilius adjusted his mood, lost his head and left the library. Modu was left wandering around the library. If we say, Kamar Taj is the most deserted place. In addition to the basements from thousands of years ago, there are libraries. Magicians are also human beings, and they also have the joys and sorrows of ordinary people. Ordinary people don't like reading, and magicians naturally don't like reading either. In addition, many magicians borrow books and leave the library to read. Therefore, the library has always been the most deserted place in Kamar Taj. Normally, there are very few people here, but in the past few days, there have been more and more people in the library. Various magicians come and go here, which can be said to be quite lively. All this is because of a rumor that has spread recently about Kamar Taj. In the library of Kamar Taj, there is a magic book. As long as it can be recognized by the magic book, it can gain unimaginable power. It is said that Luke, who excelled in the magician exam, gained terrifying power from the magic book. This makes magicians even more enthusiastic. There are quite a few magicians in the library. Although magicians have power, it does not mean that they have no emotions. In some ways, magicians are no different from mortals. Being able to increase strength, magicians naturally flock to it. It just might be due to luck. Among the many magicians in the library, none of them have gained anything. This makes many magicians very upset. And also very irritable is Lin Yu. A week has passed. Except for Wang and Luke, no one is qualified to understand the magic book. How can this make Lin Yu not anxious? Whether he can transform into a human form depends entirely on the number of magicians. It turned out that the magic book was actually picked and picked. The conditions are still very high. Many magicians who Lin Yu seemed to be suitable for were not qualified. If Lin Yu hadn't been a book writer now, all of her hair would have fallen out. I didn't expect it to be so troublesome. It actually requires certain qualifications. Lin Yu couldn't help but shake his head. But think about it. If no qualifications are required, as long as there are enough of these people, wouldn't he be able to defeat Thanos in 7 days and become invincible in a few years? Couldn't help but sigh. Lin Yu used his special ability to search around. I hope to find a being with outstanding ability to teach power systematically. After wandering around for 2 times, he had a powerful sense of domineering power. 2 magicians caught his attention. These 2 magicians are much more mature than the young Luke, and they look about 40 or 50 years old. One of them has a head full of black curly hair, a shrunken appearance, and a fresh face as if he had not woken up. The other is tall and has a resolute face. Bono, can you hurry up? Let's go for a walk quickly, maybe we'll have a chance to find you. The tall middle-aged man slapped the lazy uncle named Bono hard. Bono didn't take it seriously at all, and spoke slowly. Safa, how can things be so simple? If it were really that simple, so many magicians wouldn't have gained nothing. How do you know if you don't work hard? Oh, I really don't know how you became a senior magician. Is it all about dawdling? Safa, who looked determined, couldn't help but sigh. Later, when I saw that my friend was still looking so slow, I simply grabbed the guy and entered the library. Lin Yu looked at the 2 people and touched his chin. These 2 people look very distinctive. There might be some drama. After so many days, Lin Yu also summed up some experience. The system does not look at ability at all when looking for people. He had his eye on several magicians with abilities, but the system failed the test. On the contrary, those with characteristics seem to be more popular. For example, the first Luke has a unique character because he has justice in his heart and works hard. Let's try it first. It doesn't cost any money anyway. Lin Yu thought for a while and stared at these 2 people. The 2 men were bickering while wandering around the library. It doesn't look much different from other magicians. Most magicians come here just to try their luck. Few magicians pin their hopes on this. The same goes for Bono and Fasa. The 2 of them seemed to be searching, but in fact they were just trying their luck. Bono walked half a circle and even started to yawn lazily, looking quite bored. Just when he had nothing to do. Suddenly, he discovered that there was an open magic book placed on the flat table in the distance. The magicians nearby were coming and going, but they seemed not to be aware of this magic book at all. Bono couldn't help but shudder. Fasa, look over there, is there a magic book? Bono asked. Where? Fasa spoke. It's on the flat table over there. That book looks quite mysterious and has a gorgeous cover. Bono spoke again. Are you kidding me? There's obviously nothing on the table over there. Fasa followed his old friend's fingers and looked over. But saw nothing. There is obviously nothing on the table. Stop joking, this joke is meaningless. I think we'd better have a good search. I'll go over there and look for it, and you can take a look yourself. If you can't find us, go on a mission. Don't waste time. Fasa patted Bono on the shoulder and turned to leave. But Bono stared at the table, unblinking. There was obviously a mysterious magic book on it, but Fasa turned a blind eye. Could it be the one in the legend? Even Bono, who is usually very lazy, couldn't help but feel a little excited. He quickly walked forward and sat in front of the long table. He immediately grabbed the mysterious magic book in front of him. It's not an illusion. This is real. Bono didn't know what to say. He, a person who obviously didn't want to find a magic book, actually obtained a magic book. I don't know if this is ironic or not. Shaked his head. Bono sat down directly and picked up the book in his hand. Although he is lazy, doesn't like fighting, and usually just hangs around, he will naturally not give up such a good thing that comes to his door. I don't know if this book is really that magical. Or are you spreading lies? Bono thought a little doubtfully in his mind. Just when he had doubts, the magic book suddenly shone brightly, and a powerful aura emitted. Bono immediately felt a little breathless, as if he was being watched by a god. Bono stuttered a bit when he spoke. After a while, the breath of fear dissipated. A mysterious aura appeared. Bono originally wanted to put down the magic book in his hand, but was attracted by this mysterious aura. He stared at the magic book in front of him and couldn't let go. In the library, magicians come and go, but no one noticed Bono, who was holding a magic book and seemed to be confused. A strange aura enveloped him, as if Bono was directly in another dimension. The methods of this system are really getting more and more mysterious. Is it related to the improvement of my divine power? Or does it have something to do with the number of people who realize it? Lin Yu watched everything secretly and thought in his heart. In the beginning, the system was definitely not that powerful. But now, it has been enhanced. Although I don't know what the reason is, it's all because the system is awesome. I wonder what this lucky guy can understand this time. I hope it can provide some more powerful power. Lin Yu was looking forward to it. He is not weak now. But compared to the real powerhouses in the Marvel world, it's still not close. There are existences such as Sorcerer Supreme, Odin, etc., but their methods are still unpredictable. There is still a gap between him and these existences. I hope the system can be more powerful. The better the inheritance of rewards, the stronger he is. He is very willing to do this kind of generous thing. A magician has been detected who is eligible for comprehension. Should this magician realize power? Yes, Lin Yu thought decisively in his heart. Complete understanding of power. The magician's comprehension power is One Piece World, Sparkling Fruit. A magician learns the power from the magic book. You get a 10,000 times critical hit return. Congratulations on obtaining the elemental sparkling fruit ability. Congratulations on your knowledge and knowledge, your armed domineering will be upgraded to the general level. Do you want to receive it? Hearing the sound of the system, Lin Yu's eyes suddenly widened. Receive. Lin Yu just finished speaking. Mysterious power appears directly. A massive amount of power and knowledge was poured directly into Lin Yu's mind. At the same time, the domineering power he originally gained began to grow rapidly. If his original hegemonic power of seeing and hearing could only cover Kamar Taj, now his domineering power can cover a city. The ability of the sparkling fruit and how to use it are even more comfortable and handy. General level strength. Okay. Lin Yu was very excited. The generals in One Piece are extremely powerful. Any one of them has the ability to move mountains and reclaim seas and destroy cities with ease. This is just talking about domineering strength. Combined with devil fruit ability, it becomes even more powerful. Whitebeard easily set off a tsunami, and Aokiji also easily froze the tsunami. This kind of ability can only be described as changing the world. The shining fruit is one of the devil fruits, and its destructive power is equally astonishing. Just the ability to approach the speed of light allows his body to exert infinite power. It can be said, this time Lin Yu found a treasure. Lin Yu was excited. Bono over there has already begun the inheritance. The mysterious power in the magic book directly led him into a wonderful space. All kinds of knowledge were poured into his mind. But Bono didn't notice at all. One's experiences emerge slowly. Bono seemed to be immersed in these inexplicable scenes. He joined the Navy when he was young and has outstanding abilities. Subsequently, he went on various expeditions against pirates and was promoted several times. It only took a few decades to achieve achievements that others could not achieve in a lifetime. It is precisely because he has seen too much that he has developed a lazy look, which is different from the beliefs of most Navy. Because of its own ability, it has developed its own ability to an extremely strong degree, and can even completely elementalize itself. Unless you encounter restraint ability, it can be said to be regenerative healing factor. Relying on this strength, he rose up out of thin air and became a naval admiral. Kizaru. A name came out of Bono's mouth. Along with it, there was a lot of information and complicated tricks, all hidden in his mind. As long as his strength increases, he can constantly unlock these related energies. Sparkling fruit. Domineering. Bono muttered. It took him a moment to realize what he had gained. Become completely light. This is too exaggerated. Bono had a big mouth. The ability of the shining fruit can turn any part of the body into light, possessing the speed of light and the ability of light. How terrible is this? How fast is light? This is the fastest speed at which objects in nature can move. Many people's reaction speed is not as fast as light. As an object approaches the speed of light, its mass approaches infinity. This is the most extreme speed in nature. And the shining fruit, if practiced to the extreme, can turn people into light. Just this point can make people sigh how abnormal this thing is. Not to mention, the magic book not only gave him the ability to use the powerful shining fruit, but also gave him a system to make progress on his own. Domineering. What is the origin of this magic book? Why can you give me such an incredible thing? I'm afraid even the Sorcerer Supreme can't be so magical, right? Feeling the power within his body, Bono was filled with disbelief and shock. It was completely unbelievable that the magic book could give him such unimaginable power. He has only just mastered the power, and he is probably dozens of times stronger than before. Fear. It's really scary. The power awarded to him in the magic book was really too strong. In comparison, Kamar Taj's magic is slightly inferior. Compared to magic of the same level, the ability of the shining fruit is obviously a bit more incredible. No, I have to tell Fasa quickly. Maybe he will also be able to possess this power. Bono, who was usually lazy, became unusually nervous. Young man, don't be so anxious. It's useless for you to be anxious. Those who cannot see the magic book cannot gain power. A voice sounded directly from the magic book. Bono was immediately shocked and very nervous. However, his mental quality was very good and he quickly accepted this fact. Are you a magic book? You can actually talk. I can definitely speak and be able to pass on this ability to you. Do you think I'm just an ordinary book? I inherited the magic book from ancient times in order to choose a chosen one among Kamar Taj, thereby preparing for future disasters. Now you have become one of the seeds. Lin Yu pretended to be profound and said. Coupled with the domineering aura he quietly exuded, it was called a domineering display. Bono was immediately stunned. It was really that what the system inherited was so amazing that he couldn't think straight for a while. Bono, who usually looks lazy and calm, stutters a bit when he speaks. What do you want me to do? It's simple, I want nothing more. Let's find more people. Only more seeds can bring hope. Lin Yu said in a pretentious manner. I see. When Bono heard this, he immediately filled up a lot of content in his mind and spoke excitedly. Lin Yu looked at the magician and nodded. Very good. Another one was fooled. Lin Yu fooled the magician as usual. The body of the magic book is directly hidden. As expected, this seemingly lazy middle-aged man was once again shocked. This guy is indeed the lucky one selected by the system. It didn't take long for calm to return. Soon he found the stoic-looking magician who had followed him. What, have you found the legendary magic book? Fasa looked at his good friend with disbelief. Bono's initially agitated mood became much calmer, and his face became somewhat calm. Are you kidding? This kind of joke is not funny at all. Fasa spoke. He knew his old friend too well. The two met in Kamar Taj and have now known each other for more than 10 years. Bono was notoriously lazy, undisciplined, and eccentric. Sometimes he, an old friend, also wants to play a trick. It's not like he has never done this kind of thing before. Fasa felt that this guy was playing tricks on him now. If you don't believe it, forget it. Bono rolled his eyes, yawned, and didn't bother to explain. Despite the initial excitement, he became lazy again. Fasa looked helpless. If you want me to believe it, you have to provide some evidence. You're talking nonsense. Fasa spoke. Okay, let's go to the training ground. I happen to be familiar with this powerful force. By the way, bring that boy Luke with you. We still have to rely on him to get this news. Bono spoke. They are different from Luke. Both of them are senior magicians. Of course, a little magician like Luke can't compare. But, the reason why they came to try their luck was because they came after confirming it from Luke. From this aspect, Luke really deserves credit for being able to get such an opportunity. It's no wonder that Fasa taught him so wholeheartedly. That's what you said. Then let's meet at the training ground. Fasa spoke. The two people just separated. Wait until half an hour has passed. Only then did Bono meet Fasa and Luke, who had been waiting here for a long time. Why are you here? You really need to change your character. How lazy you are, Fasa said directly and speechlessly. We are all our own people, there are so many things. Luke boy. Bono said hello. Meet Bono magician. Luke saluted. Even after receiving the gift of the magic book, Luke still did not change. He was not like some people who were immediately complacent after gaining strength. On the contrary, he is more humble than before. Inspired to become a hero, he is more determined than ordinary people. This is why Fasa took him under his wing. Luke indeed received an incredible inheritance, but growth also takes time. Plus, a lot of knowledge needs to be learned, such as what materials, knowledge about demons, classification of various demons, monsters, etc. None of this knowledge is acquired overnight. It can also be seen from this that Luke is very low-key and has not changed anything. Okay, you're welcome, kid. Don't be like that old-fashioned guy from Fasa. Bono rolled his eyes and joked. Luke just smiled. Okay, where did you come from with so many words? Hurry up and demonstrate. Fasa rolled his eyes and said. Okay. Bono waved his hand and walked to the training ground. I gained an ability called the Sparkling Fruit. The ability is to turn part of my body into light. Bono explained. As soon as he stretched out his hand, the light flickered. One of his left hands turned into pure golden light. Idiot. Fasa expressed his shock directly. Luke also had a look of shock on his face. How can you also get benefits from magic books? His one seems to be a bit more handsome than what he got. With this ability, wouldn't you be able to die? Fasa's face was full of envy. This kind of ability is so abnormal. This is simply equivalent to a regenerative healing factor that changes direction. What can destroy light? The abilities given by this magic book are too perverted. No wonder he saw several great magicians in the library. Absolutely abnormal. Hearing Fasa sigh, Bono had a wry smile on his face. It's not that easy. My current control over ability is insufficient and I still need to hone it. Now I can only transform my limbs. I don't dare to move anywhere else. But there is indeed a bright future ahead. Bono also smiled. Even though he was lazy, he felt a little excited in his heart. It's not the ability that the magic book gave him, no, it's because he doesn't have it yet. I am not yet proficient in this ability. I have to say that this ability is extremely abnormal. Even if he doesn't fully master it, he still needs practice. It has been able to turn its limbs into photosynthetic forms, and its power is undeniable. It's just that his physical strength is not yet in place. But Bono was not discouraged at all. In his memory, the original owner of this ability, Kizaru, had spent decades mastering this ability to the extreme. At the beginning, there was nothing exaggerated about the mastery of ability. You're so lucky, kid. Come and let me see, this ability should be more than just this. Come on, let's compete. Fasa's eyes were full of envy. But deep down in my heart, I was really happy for this good friend, and my face was full of excitement. His style is much higher than that of some jealous magician. You are no match for me now. Luke, watch, I'll fix your teacher up. Bono spoke. Although he is lazy, his ability is indeed amazing. He is 10 years younger than Bosa, but he has also become a senior magician, which shows his ability. Now with strange ability, it's a step further. Stop bragging, you are still very young. I am one of the most powerful senior magicians in Kamar Taj. Fasa snorted coldly. As soon as he stretched out his hand, a magic shield appeared in his hand, and he rushed towards Bono. In his other hand, a magic chain appeared out of thin air and attacked. It scared me to death. Bono's didn't panic at all. Buzz. With a soft sound, his long legs turned into a flash of golden light. Without saying a word, he kicked him out. The golden light was so fast that afterimages even appeared in the air. The moment it fits into the magic shield, the golden light turned from virtual to real. Boom! Huge amounts of power kicked directly on top of the magic shield. Fasa was actually kicked out more than 10 meters by this terrifying force. His feet left 2 traces on the ground. Speed is power, Fasa. Bono said with a smile. Luke, who was watching from the side, was stunned. This ability is too powerful. Why is it that in such a comparison, not only his magic is no longer good, but his Navy 6 style is also no longer good? The power of the shining fruit is indeed extraordinary. Lin Yu, who was peeping, couldn't help but marveled. Since the discovery, no one has been able to discover his color and other abilities. Lin Yu has a way of having fun. That's a sneak peek at various magician battles. After all, as a magic book, he is too boring to stay in the library. As the saying goes, you only know the importance after losing it. Fortunately, with these magicians joking around, life is not boring. These magicians fight basically every day. It's like watching a boxing match, very enjoyable. Kamar Taj seems peaceful, but after all, he wants to go out to fight against demons. When magicians compete, their methods are naturally very fierce. Broken limbs and limbs are common occurrences. It is better to have your hands and feet cut off during the competition than to go out and die. Naturally, Lin Yu was hooked. Lin Yu often pays attention to the battles of ordinary magicians. Naturally, he will not ignore those who understand the system's ability. This ability that I just realized the shining fruit has been such a blessing to me. Devil fruits are really outrageous. Lin Yu was amazed in his heart. But at the moment, if he had a body, the corners of his mouth would probably reach to the root of his mouth. Devil fruits are definitely the most outrageous things in the One Piece world. The ability it unleashes is unimaginable. Such as now. This ability to transform into light directly exempts you from most fatal damage. A being at the level of Kizaru cannot die at all. In the battle above, Akainu was beaten to a bloody head and was in such a state of embarrassment. Kizaru, who had been fighting for a long time, didn't even have a speck of dust on his body, which shows how abnormal this fruit is. Bano, a little senior magician, has just realized that he can explode such power with the help of the sparkling fruit. What a surprise! Although Kamar Taj's magic may seem ordinary, it is actually extremely powerful. The combined efforts of several magicians were able to block even the main gun of Thanos' starship. During the battle between the magicians, no one had ever had their shield broken by a being of equal strength. This shows how abnormal this thing is. Not just very strong. Magic shield can also offset a large portion of the force. If not, how could Doctor Strange face off against those powerful men? But it is such an amazing magic. However, Bano's ordinary blow from the shining fruit knocked him back more than 10 meters. How amazing is this? The senior magician is indeed not very powerful in magic, so it depends on who he compares to. There is no way he can compare to Lin Yu, a being like Wong. But it is absolutely easy to kill a newly awakened Captain America. Among ordinary people, he is already considered Superman. This kind of power combined with the magic shield, fighting at the same level, should not be such a one-sided situation. Now it's happening. It can only prove the gold content of the sparkling fruit. The system rewards are too perverted. It's really awesome. This has just been passed down. How terrifying would it be if it were mastered to the extreme? Lin Yu couldn't help but have some wild ideas. His shining fruit ability has been mastered to the level of elementalization. That is the level of general. Logically speaking, it should be able to easily exert destructive power at the level of a general. So, wouldn't I be able to destroy small cities? Lin Yu's heart is full of fantasy. The shining fruit is certainly not a purely attack devil fruit with amazing power. But whenever it becomes elemental, its absolute power is unusual. He is now looking forward to the scene after he transforms into a human form. Lin Yu sighed here. Over there Bano's display continues. The three of Bano were shocked for a long time that the most basic elementalization could have such power. This ability is really scary. Fasa couldn't help but rub his arm. It was obvious that the blow just now caused a great burden on him. This is just the beginning. I have not only mastered the ability of the shining fruit, but also the hockey. It's just that I can't practice well now. If you can practice for a period of time, you will naturally be stronger. Bano moved his hands and feet, and was also very surprised by the attack he just made. Of course, it was not just the ability of the shining fruit. And the power of domineering can enhance his physical fitness. The combination of the two can achieve such destructive power. The level of the shining fruit is greatly reduced. If the physical body cannot withstand the extreme speed, only oneself will be injured. Tisk, tisk, you are really lucky. I was able to win the favor of the magic book. No, we have to fight. I've found out your details, let's come again. You are very skilled in power control, but you can only transform part of your limbs now. Fasa saw Bano's shortcomings directly. Having just finished the inheritance, Bano is very unskilled in controlling this incredible ability. This is the weakness. You're right, but I don't just have these tricks. Bano spoke. Fasa is right about this. He is different from Kizaru, who has mastered ability for decades. Kizaru can elementalize his clothes without damaging them at all. He couldn't do it. He can only lighten a portion of his limbs. But the ability of the shining fruit is very abnormal. How can it only have such a little ability? If Fasa wanted to bully him, he would be thinking too much. Boast. Fasa laughed. His hands changed, and a red magic shield appeared in his hands. This is the Kamar Taj Advanced Magic, the 7-membered Ring of Ragador. This magic is only reserved for a small number of people in Kamar Taj. Only some experienced magicians and great magicians can master it. Its power is also very scary. The 7-membered Ring of Ragador in Fasa's hand can withstand the fire of tank main guns and even armor-piercing bullets head-on. Definitely not to be underestimated. Come again and let me see if you can still break my magic shield. Ha ha. Fasa laughed and leaned forward. Today he had to take care of his old friend. Otherwise, there will be no chance in the future. It's a beautiful thought. A smile appeared on Bono's lazy and vulgar face. Look at how awesome I am. 8-foot beautiful Magatama. Bono took a deep breath and felt the mysterious power of the sparkling fruit. Show OK gesture with both hands. Base. The next moment, an astonishing golden flash appeared on his fingertips, making both Luke and Fasa unable to open their eyes. Then, 2 golden light bullets were fired directly from his hands. Phew. A soft sound. The terrifying golden light bullet directly pierced the defense of the magic shield in Fasa's hand, leaving a hole the size of an egg file. Click. The magic shield cracked and the energy dissipated directly. Hiss. Unison voices rang out from the mouths of Luke and Fasa. Such power. Horrible. This is magic that borrows the power of a powerful existence. Was it destroyed like this? This power is too exaggerated. The ability given by the magic book is too perverted. 8-foot Magatama. Kizaru's guarding skills. Once it is used, it will really be a rain of golden light all over the sky, with extraordinary power. Even a general-level being in the One Piece world would not dare to resist such an attack head-on. The attack Bono used was far inferior to Kizaru's. Not even a single hair of Kizaru can compare with it. But the power is not small at all. The powerful 7 rings of Ragador were broken through without any obstruction at all. What kind of terrifying power is this? Even among Kamar Taj, there are not many magics of this power. As for the attack that breaks through the magic shield of the same level, they have never seen it in the outside world. One can imagine how shocked the 3 people in the training ground were when they saw this attack. Fasa's face was even more frightened, as if he had seen a ghost. Fortunately, Kamar Taj's magic is very powerful, and there won't be any backlash. Otherwise he might have been the first Kamar Taj magician to die at the hands of his own magic. This power, tut-tut. It's really terrifying and abnormal and should not be underestimated. Fasa came back to his senses after a long time, and said with surprise. The surprise on his face could not be concealed. It's really scary. Compared to Bono Magician, my heritage seems to be nothing. Luke had a wry smile on his face. Although he knew in his heart that his moves seemed weak, it was probably because he was originally lacking in strength. But look at the performance of others. He still looked a little disappointed. This gap is too big. It is too powerful for a senior magician to be able to unleash such destructive power. How could such terrifying things appear one after another in the magic book? Is this reasonable? How unreasonable. But fortunately, Luke is still a good guy after all. He quickly adjusted his mood. I didn't expect this thing to be so powerful. It seems that I underestimated the power of that mysterious magic book. This kind of power is really terrifying. Bono was also emotional. If he hadn't deliberately controlled it, this powerful attack would have missed. I'm afraid his good friend is about to ascend directly to heaven. The power of this magic is really terrifying. The inheritance of this magic book. Bono now really feels that he is very lucky to be able to get such a terrifying thing. Bah, bah, bah. Just when the 3 people were talking, a sound like electric current sounded from the trumpet. A portal suddenly appeared next to them. A tall figure with a serious face walked out. It's none other than Moto. Big magician, big magician, big magician. When the 3 people saw the visitor, they all bent down and saluted. No need to be polite. Were you 3 practicing here just now? Modu asked seriously. Initiation to the great magician, that is exactly what it is. Fasa felt solemn and asked. What magic did you use? Why is it so destructive? The ancient buildings of Kamar Taj were shattered. Modu asked with an unhappy expression. These magicians are too numerous to count. Ever since the king and Caecilius nearly destroyed Kamar Taj, they had banned the magician from using powerful spells. To avoid the tragedy of magicians repairing the house, it took half a year to repair it again. Unexpectedly, these three guys were so disobedient. Modu looked at these three people, but he didn't expect that these three people were also stunned. Especially Bono's face was wrinkled and he looked 10 years older. Modu was keenly aware that something was wrong. What happened? Why do you have such expressions? Modu asked. Bono smiled bitterly and said. Magician, that's right, it's my responsibility. As he spoke, Bono told Modu what had just happened. He really didn't expect it. The ability of the shining fruit is so terrifying. It actually damaged Kamar Taj's house. Fortunately, his attack was aimed at the sky and did not hurt anyone. Modu was surprised when he heard this. Have you received the inheritance of the magic book? Modu looked calm on the surface, but he was a little angry in his heart. Seeing the change in the king, he was very surprised. I went to the library and spent a lot of time searching. Only, he didn't notice it at all. He didn't find anything wrong in the library at all. Most magicians are familiar with libraries and are very familiar with them. He still didn't notice anything was wrong. The location of the legendary magic book was not found either. Now, a senior magician claims to have inherited the magic book. One can imagine the complicated emotions in Modu's heart. Good thing, Mordo was not so cautious that even senior magicians would be jealous. If his temperament is really that small, he cannot be a disciple of the Sorcerer Supreme. Of all Kamar Taj, Strange was the only one he was jealous of in the end. Take a deep breath, Modu said. Did you get the inheritance of the magic book? Then I want to really take a look. It is said that this magic book is extremely magical and that people can obtain incomparable magical power from it. I want to see more. Big magician. Bono looked embarrassed. How dare he take action against the big magician? Why are you afraid of hurting me? If this magic book is really so powerful, why do we still need to practice magic? Forget it, just stay in the library. Modu snorted and said. He always thought, the things in the magic book are powerful because they are inseparable from the power of the original king. Even before receiving the power in the magic book, the king already had potential. He is the first person in Kamar Taj besides Sorcerer Supreme to cast spells without a sling ring. Perhaps not as good as Caecilius in terms of magical ability. But no one can hide his power. And compared to ordinary magicians, the king's ability is not weak. In this way, combined with the inheritance in the magic book, it can exert such powerful power. This is an ordinary and unremarkable senior magician. After obtaining the inheritance in the magic book, you want to have a try with him. So why does he, a big magician, have any need to continue doing this? Might as well give up the position to a kid like Luke. Modu immediately snorted coldly. Bono immediately shuddered. Big magician, of course that's not what I meant. It's just that the shining fruit ability I have mastered is very unskilled and the power cannot be controlled. And I've only just mastered it, so my ability isn't very strong. Modu glanced at him. That's just right. If it doesn't work, I can give you some advice. Okay, what nonsense are you talking about? Mother-in-law, what do you look like? If you can hurt me, it doesn't matter if I recommend you to become a magician. Modu said disdainfully. Since the big magician said so, I can only give it a try. Single quote. Bono said rather disbelievingly. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.